Wayne Bruin wasn't feeling that great today. He's going to be
He's
attending
on
by
Zoom,
Zoom.
yeah.
And Christina's.
Oh, we don't have a council.
We don't have a.
No. Yeah, we have to wait for
Is Christine?
do it.
She was here earlier.
Is Christina around?
Yeah, she is.
I know, I saw her coming in.
We need an attorney.
Yeah, I haven't, I was too busy
We can't
Oh, yes,
afford
yeah.
one. It's provided free.
signing documents.
Yeah, Kate.
I thought you weren't going to be here.
No, the 22nd.
Oh, okay.
On the 22nd round, okay.
Ta-da.
Yay. We're trying to rustle up an attorney, Claire. If you see one wandering around in the halls.
I know, right?
If you happen to see an attorney somewhere.
We're ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, we can do preliminaries at least. Let's get started. Meeting is called to order, Southampton Town Planning Board, Thursday, August 8th, 2024. The secretary will call roll.
Chair LaFaro was absent. Vice Chair Finnerty.
Present.
Secretary is here. Board Member Mutu.
Present.
Board Member Neely.
Present.
Board Member Fulham.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Very good. Could you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any minutes to approve?
Yes, we do.
Madam
We
Secretary?
do. We have 7:25.
7:25, we have a motion. Motion by Kate, second by Tom, all in favor? Aye, opposed, abstentions? We have 5 yes. 5 yes.
Yes.
One absent, one vacancy.
Yes.
Gotta get used to the new
There's
protocol.
this many fingers.
Okay, at this time, we're going to close the afternoon meeting and convene the afternoon work session. We have one item on the agenda, which is Hanger Charlie LLC. I believe council is here, and we're looking forward to a brief. Hello, Wayne, can you hear us? Okay, we can hear you. We're ready for a brief overview of the project.
Yes.
Anybody want to come up with it?
Wayne,
Actually, we
Wait,
can't
wait,
hear
we can't-
you.
we
a
can't
little louder.
We can't
Is
hear
your
you.
mic working? That's better.
Better.
By the way,
Yep, got it.
great. So again, Wayne Bruin of Shea Marcinson Brewing for the applicant and for Charlie LLC. Our plan is contract MDU for property with all described. I believe in the audience, we have two of our principals, Scott Cunningham and Rich Daly, as well as our project manager, Mark Kissy. We also should have Bill Lombardi of the Rainer Group and Ryan Kessler, our local architect. And online, we may get also engineers and other architects on this. So if they ask to be invited in, I'd ask that they allow if they want to put conflict. First of all, this is a pre-submission site plan application. The board asked us to do a work session this evening. We have a pre-submission conference. The application involves being submitted documents, including a concept plan. So has submitted a set of site plan, building elevations, floor plans, conceptual, as well as some other supporting documents, including a letter from the building inspector dated October 3rd, 2023. The property in question is 3 tax parcels totaling approximately 32.6 acres in the hamlet of Bayard. It's about 940 feet on the northerly side of South Country Road, 935 feet or so actually east of Peters Lane. also located on the south side of the Long Island Railroad. And it is in the CR40 zoning district, as well as it has designation as the Peog West Recreation Tourism Plan Development District under section 330-248F of the zoning code. The subject property is surrounded by other non-conforming uses, particularly to the north of the railroad is the Western Airport and facilities related to the airport. To the northeast is a former town of Southampton, still owns the property, but a former town of Southampton landfill, dating back to the 50s, 60s, and 70s. The property to the east is a vehicle junkyard containing multiple structures and several vehicles. To the west are several tax parcels, all developed industrially and operated by Chesterfield Associates and Marine Construction Company. And then a little further to the west is another auto repair shop containing numerous trailers and vehicles and the like. The subject property has a gentle slope, pretty much now wooded except for a wooded area in the north, which is a former sand pit. The property has been alleged to have been used for similar landfilling or other disposal uses back in the 60s and 70s. And because of all this, the town, on their own motion in 1999, the town board, along with property to the east, created two land development districts. This one consisted of all the properties just described, all the surrounding properties, plus the subject property, were all designated for Peog West recreational tourism PDD. The intent of the Peog West PDD was to encourage the cleanup and reuse of these properties by permitting certain residential and community facilities and commercial recreation uses subject to meeting certain standards. And so what our client proposes is a recreational use, and we'll get into more detail about what that recreational use is. But the Peog West PDP had certain conditions permits the underlying uses in the CR40 zone as well as recreational facilities. And I'll just read that section out of the code so you're familiar with that. It allows community or regional sports or recreational facilities, including playing fields, skating rinks, tennis centers, swimming pools, golf course, driving range, horseback riding, or other compatible indoor and outdoor recreational facility, subject to the provisions of 330-248F 8, which those conditions have to do with two things. One is there are standards for certain buffers that have to be imposed here along any residential zone, 60 feet, or going in a public right-of-way, 100 feet. And we'll indicate how we comply with that with our proposed concept plan. The other special condition was that no lot or tract within the PDD shall be developed or redeveloped without an environmental audit first being performed and the property being cleaned up to the satisfaction of the town, health department, and or the state DEC. And so we have undertaken to do the necessary audits and whatever cleanup is necessary on that part. So what we propose is a recreational use. It's a park lot. And we'll get into more detail of what this park club, our clients actually are members of the park club that currently operated in West Palm Beach. They're also familiar with the second facility there. In fact, the layout and design is exactly the same layout and design that they have, that has been developed in West Palm Beach. Of course, we started with this proposal as a concept, and we're seeking your input for the layout and design, as well as the use. What we did, however, to make sure that this complies with the zoning requirement, back in October, we made a submission to the building inspector. And the building inspector, to review and ask them specifically, and provided them information and links to the Palm Beach facility. And they provided us with a letter dated October 3rd, 2023, and it was addressed to my office. We have asked whether a park club, similar to the existing club called the Hangar in West Palm Beach, is permitted in the 3-hour West Tourism Plan Development District. Having reviewed the PDP provisions as well as the links provided showcasing the Hangar in West Palm Beach, I believe the proposed use is consistent with a recreation facility, quote unquote, as the term is contemplated in the town code. Pursuant to the purposes and objectives of the PDP, including but not limited to the goal of supporting the most efficient and purposeful use of vacant land and providing efficient and viable land use options that complement the surrounding pattern of density development, you might also consider adding a community park, fields, greenways, or sports court to the site plan application. So when you look at our concept plan of the property, that's prepared by the manager, you're going to see that we have the proposed park club facility on the north of the park, near the already disturbed sand pit area. And on the southerly end, we have proposed a facility for pickleball courts, which the applicant proposes to dedicate to construct to dedicate to the land. This came not only through the suggestion of the building inspector, but from us in the building office, indicated that there may be a need for community pickleball facilities that are concentrated on a parcel such as ours, surrounded by commercial and industrial uses, rather than having facilities in people's backyards. So what I'd like to do is now have either Eddie or Ryan, Eddie's online, perhaps describe the proposed building and layout that I would see in the packet. But I would also ask Scott Cunningham, if Scott, you're available, to maybe describe briefly what a park club is.
You should have
set up here.
Yeah, you can sit up at
You
the
can come
desk.
sit at the table.
You can sit at the table. That's fine. Yeah. Just identify
Up
yourself.
close
to
in
the-
person. Scott Cunningham, how you doing?
Great. Welcome.
Thank you for the time and having me. So I founded the Hangar. Basically it was a search personally for something that didn't exist. My wife and I had raised our kids. They went off to college, starting their own lives. We had a house bigger than we needed with, that we just thought we'd downsize, but I still had toys, things that I collected, cars, motorcycles, artwork. And we moved to a smaller house, 1-car garage, and I had to find a place to put those things. So I rented a warehouse. Didn't really feel like when I opened the door, it looked like I had, nice stuff. I wasn't a business. So it occurred to me one day that I really was looking for a place where there were people who had something similar. Maybe they had a few cars, some motorcycles, I collect guitars, and I like to own things. So there was no such thing as a place that was dedicated to, that was private, where you're not opening your door and people from a neighboring business are coming by and ogling your things. So I had the idea that I assumed was already existed or something. I couldn't find it anywhere, and basically came up with the concept of a private garage clubhouse, country club as we call it. The idea being not everybody golfs, and we are, in particular in this, which is our second unit that's under construction, 68 units. Our first one had 41 units, and each one is individually owned, condoed, just like any other piece of fee simple real estate. And owners, here, an average of 1,000, 1,200 square feet. They have a mezzanine, and essentially we sell them decorator ready, and owners will buy them, decorate them however they want, make the things that they wouldn't necessarily do in their home or their garage. And then we have an owner's lounge, which is a bit of like the clubhouse where they can go and meet with friends or family or do something different than just inside of their individual units, which is really kind of a personal space if they choose it to be that. So there was a social element where if I'm meeting somebody, it's somebody who is like-minded. They probably also have a collection of a few cars and some other things, and that's how I met Mr. Daly, who is my partner here, who you'll hear from shortly. And basically, it's just been a very successful. It's really a new thing, but the traffic that we generate is, I like to say, and we can prove this, but less than a cemetery, because they're very lightly used. People are busy. They're in other parts of the country or other things. They don't come there every day, but when they do come there, they're quiet. It's not open to the public. There's very, very few people coming in and out. It's mostly friends and family on a limited basis. We generate a very nice, from a property value point of view, tax revenue. We don't add any burden to the schools because this is an extra asset. And the people that are buying are basically well-established, affluent people who are private, and they're not out there flaunting and doing anything. It's just a very quiet, private, family-oriented type of community. And this will be our first location outside of the state of Florida, but been very well received. The municipalities, at home, love us, love the project. We support charities and charitable events on a regular basis, and we just try to be a good neighbor to the community.
So are these residential dwellings?
No.
So
Just
They're basically private garages. if you
private
will.
garages.
So it might look, visually, it's more compelling and more articulated than a typical warehouse, which was important to us, that visually it looks like something special. But basically, behind the garage door and the pedestrian door is your space. And you might like murals on the wall and your artwork over here and whatever, but everyone does their own sort of thing. And then you basically share it with friends and family, or you go there for your own time. You can't run a business out of it. There's no business operations at all, which was, I just wanted something that I was looking for that didn't exist.
And they have their individual spaces. It's not one
Correct.
big with
It's not
all
a
the-
community space.
Okay.
There is like I said, an owner's lounge. We don't call it a clubhouse because it's not really a clubhouse, but that has meeting areas and ping pong table, whatever.
What about bathrooms and kitchens?
No kitchens. We do supply a bathroom. In each of the units has a bathroom.
is that on the ground floor or the mezzanine?
It's on the ground floor.
So what typically happens at a mezzanine then? It's just a place of artwork and
Usually, I have mine set up as sort of, we have a 150-inch TV and a 7-foot tall speakers, stuff that my wife would never let me have in our home. And and I'll go there with our kids and whatever, and listen to music or watch. There was when Hamilton came out, there was like a watch party. We had like 8 or 10 family members, and we watched it, and had it turned up nice and loud. Nobody cares because nobody's living next door. There's nobody else there.
So is that a community space up on
No,
the
that was in my
mezzanine, or
space.
So
each
that's
is
Each
individual?
individual unit can
So
do
there's like a ground level where
So-
you put your vehicle and
correct.
whatever you want in, and then there's an upper individual space.
Which typically, the definition, which I think is fairly standard across the country, is a mezzanine can be 1/3 the size of the ground floor. If it's bigger than that, it's considered a second floor. and then it needs separate egress. So, but it's nice because it's making, our ceilings are 20 feet high, not too high, but high enough to have a nice mezzanine, so you got 10 feet and then another 10 feet. And just a couple of couches, a TV. Like I said, some people will put a desk there with a computer. Maybe they sold their business and they're retired, but they don't really want to have an office, but they want to have somewhere to go outside the house. And
I want to go back to the wet use. So, septic systems, have you spoken to the county health department about water usage and septic flow?
we have, and if I can give you my non-educated layman's.
Can I just jump in?
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Wayne.
And Scott will have our engineer, we've already talked to the department and design, and we'll get to those. Maybe Scott, can let Rich speak also to, his perspective.
Sure. You want to do that now?
Yeah.
Sure.
Join me, Rich.
So before, have a seat, but before Rich speaks, so you mentioned having charitable events, at your facility. So what, in Palm Beach, what sort of charity events do you have, and what do you envisage happening here? So give us a feel for what charity events you have and how many people come to it and what happens from a permitting perspective and
Right.
having to get, that may be considered an event which needs a town permit, for example.
Right.
Maybe.
We, and again, I guess each area is going to have its own sort of rules and standards. But for instance, we had a Palm Beach Council for the Arts, which is a charity that basically helps promulgate, I guess the word, arts awareness and participation in underserved communities. They'll take kids that maybe have no exposure to what art even is, and they will help them. They'll put them in studios or sessions, and they raise. It's a well-known, well-respected organization, and one of our owners is involved. He's on the board, and he said, could we possibly have the end of the year event where they're honoring their biggest supporters and stuff like that. So we had it there. There was 150 people, very, for 3 hours, no loud music, nobody getting too tipsy or anything else like that, but just a nice thing and they raised more money than they've ever raised. We had, and basically, and they had to turn people away in terms of the participation because we're known as something that you want to, if there's an event there, people want to be able to attend because you can't, it's just not open. So, Rich is very established up here in his, philanthropic and charitable support through his company, and that's going to be more of his.
And let me clarify.
Rich is
You're
identified.
Sorry.
Sure. So, very briefly,
What's your name?
No,
please?
it's
my name is Richard Daly. I've been a resident of Long Island since '76 when I got married. I was born and raised in Queens. I'll briefly cover my background, but I want to finish one thought there. So at 6 years old, even though we only had one used Chevy in Cambria Heights, which is part of South Jamaica, I love cars. And so that's what actually brings me here today. I was looking for a place. My wife, with our 4 grandkids, will never be a Florida resident. That's off the table. Both my daughters are on Long Island. And so, but anything less than 30 degrees does not go well with me. So when I was in Florida, I have a 2-car garage early on. I said, okay, I have 35 cars in New York. This isn't quite working out. All right. And so I went looking for a place and I stumbled upon Scott. I'll continue in a minute, but I want to close out the charity thought. This is, I have in my library in Brookville at least 40 loose sites, whether it be American Heart, Runs the Honorary, Autism Speaks, JDRF, the list goes on and on, okay? So running a golf outing, which I've done, is a real pain, okay? And it doesn't raise much money for the charity, okay? But I want to put this in context for you. This isn't something we're coming here saying we want to do. This is something we're saying we'd love to support if this is what the town wants to do, okay? Because if you run a 2-hour event at the hangar, which Scott has done, with the support of Riviera Beach, okay? In 2 hours, you raise more money, but pass around hors d'oeuvres and some cheap wine, okay, without nearly the hassle of a golf outing, okay? So that's the part of it. Now, going a little bit more back to why I'm here. So when I bought this place, Debbie and I, I've been fortunate. So my background is I actually started in an extra bedroom in East Northport, my home there, the largest public company in Long Island called Broadridge Financial Solutions, all right? And in doing so, we are very philanthropic as a company. We believe that the best way to be profitable is to start with your employees and make them the best paid and highest engaged in your space. They will exceed customer expectations, and that will ultimately lead to stronger profits, not the reverse. Start with the profits and go backwards, and the employees wind up losing the deal. So we have all sorts of programs there, including, for example, my facility in Brentwood has doctors, PAs. We do pre-screening of every employee. We'll try to find a way with the insurance companies and the legal issues to make it available to their families, okay? So engaging people is very important. That's what attracted Debbie and I to Scott and Christie, because we attended a battered women's event, not at the hangar, but elsewhere with them. We have gone to the events which the town wanted to do there, and Scott said, if you guys would like to do it, we'll close it for the night. You come in, and it's supported. I want to be clear though, if the town was concerned about these events, we're not going to tell you, well, part of what we're building, we have to do this. This would be, somebody wants to do this, we would easily be able to say, go see the town, and if they're willing to support it, we're willing to support it. But we're not looking, by the way, the owners, okay, so for example, if Scott's having an event and that's the night I decide to swap a car out, I'm not getting in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's this is not part of the model. It's part of being a good corporate citizen, right? So in my own situation with Broadridge, so for example, we just announced, there'll be a press release, we just gave $3 million to Northrop to support the medical school. Why would we do that? Because our employees live on Long Island. We want to attract doctors. We want them to stay here on Long Island. We want our associates to have the best. With 15,000 employees, I want them to have the best medical care. All right? So community is a big deal to me personally. All right? And I could go on to a lot more things, which I won't. But if anyone has any questions, I'd be delighted to do that.
What would prevent, now they have bathrooms, what would preclude someone from actually moving in? Let's say
I may address that on a personal note. So I have a waterfront place in North Palm Beach, okay? If I was to suggest to my wife, I'm gonna go sleep in the garage, okay, that's really not overly attractive, all right? She's been with me for 55 years. It's still not that attractive, okay? So it's the typical owner has been fortunate, okay? And it's a place, I'll describe my unit. So in my home in East Northport, after we got married, I started collecting car magazines. So I have, in my unit in the loft, somebody asked, I have about 1,500 car magazines, round numbers, that I've collected over the years, okay? And my wife was not thrilled that I never threw them out, okay? This gave me a place to move those. I have a lot of memorabilia from building the business, okay? I have a lot of memorabilia related to activities with my daughters, all right? So mine is a very eclectic place, but if I was to try to do, it's similar to what Scott said, if I was to try to do the same thing in our home, it wouldn't go over well. So I had these in the attic of a garage, okay? And then when I did this, I shipped it all to Florida, and that's all in my loft.
And to also answer that the point you raised, because I have heard that before, Number one, it's prohibited in our condo docks.
Oh, okay, that's what I was going to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But also, none of these people, these are not inexpensive spaces, okay? None of these people need a place to live. And you wouldn't be allowed
It
in.
could be for a servant or,
No, I mean, it's just not allowed.
it's not allowed.
No.
Other hours of operation, can you come there at 2 o'clock in the morning?
It's accessible, well, yes, because again, personal experience. Living in Florida, we live near the water, and there's I'm sure they have here, in-out storage where they keep your boat, right?
Right.
And invariably, I'd have a boat, it's the summer, some friends call, say, hey, let's go for a ride. It's 5:30, I call, we're closed, you gotta get it tomorrow, and I can't get my boat. And I didn't want that to happen, Rich might fly in at 11 o'clock from New York for the weekend or something, and I don't want to have to say
Right.
you can't come here. So lots of, intelligent cameras, security, 24/7, live monitored. But to also go back to where we started, I'm sorry.
I was just going there.
Rich is, first of all, he's a phenomenal friend already. We've known each other for 5 years, and I've developed close friendships with almost all the owners there. Not in a very organic way, by the way. Not like we're doing business, so I'm going to be friends with you. Nobody wants anything from anybody. Rich is there probably, I'm just guessing, three weeks. He's in Florida, maybe 5-6 weeks out of the year. I could be off. He visits the hangar.
My wife is 5-6 weeks. I'm more than that.
Okay, but he visits the hangar during the weeks that he's there 2 times. Okay, maybe it's after a round of golf or on a rainy day where he doesn't have anything to do. He wants to go and.
Well, I keep 2 cars, so in my case, and I'm not that dissimilar because I've introduced people to Scott who bought hangars, all right? So I keep 2 cars at the house, and for the season, I have 8 cars at the hangar, okay? So I will be going somewhere, and I'll drive in and get a car and take a car out. I try to get my wife to go there once a year with me. I'm about 50% successful, so she's gone once every other year. If my kids are in town, which is with grandchildren, it's not that easy to get the logistics sorted. My kids are in town, which happens about once every 3 or 4 years. I try to get them all over there, and I'm about 50% successful on that. Okay, and I have 2 daughters.
So let me just mention. So back to where I went off on a tangent. Rich is a perfect example of talking about water use. Okay, he probably flushes his toilet. There's a toilet in the sink 4 times a year. Okay, our water usage is so minimal. And it wasn't designed that way. It's just the reality. Nobody's living there.
Right.
If you come there, you might wash your hands. You might use the restroom, but you're only coming there 10 times a year, and of those 10 times, so incredibly small amount of impact, vehicular and
The issue with the water use is that I know you're in Riviera Beach, you said?
Yes.
So that's all sewered and.
Correct.
Here, as
We're
your
not.
engineers will tell you, there's
As we've learned.
requirements for septic use and how many gallons of fluid. Whether you flush it once a year or 100 times a day, it's the
I
same
understand.
size
Right,
system.
so, I mean, I think you've done a good job of painting the picture, right, of like, what does this look like? What is this? It's new for us. Our job, right, comes down to a lot of math, right? So having the engineer perspective of what have your conversations been in terms of a determination of use, we heard from Wayne, and then, what is the math on parking, traffic generation, wastewater flow is a useful exercise, I think.
Can
To
I
take
think
it from
having
here.
the engineers address that.
I would like to interrupt, and maybe the gentleman can yield the floor to our architect, Eddie, and he can describe the plans, and maybe Joe or Marty can start off with the concept plan, and then we will leave Eddie, and we can discuss some of the details that we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, you've sort of given us the soft answers, but we need to understand the hard answers.
And the short
Tom?
version, you're going to be happy with all drawings.
Tom, you had something?
Well, this may be for the architect or for Joe or something, but, as I do the quick math here, these buildings look to be 42,000 square feet with, including the mezzanine, just 4 buildings, 168,000 square feet. I'm wondering, I haven't heard a description of the size of the units. How big is each individual unit on the first floor? How big is each individual unit on the mezzanine floor?
So how many cars can you park in each?
It varies. The smallest units are on the ground level, about 1,200 square feet. The biggest are maybe twice that.
Just to interrupt, for the purposes of math, the parcel is in groundwater management zone 4, and it's 600 gallons per day per
Okay.
acre, so it's about 19,000 gallons.
It's a real
So, obviously, Joe Lombardi is here from the Rayner Group to talk about the engineering,
Mm-hmm.
but, how the health department calculates the use, the max is about 19,000 gallons, because it is a 32 acre parcel.
It's a big
It's a big
parcel.
parcel, so, that's
So
where our
Rich
max
said
is.
Yeah.
you could let
And I think the question was just asked,
Okay.
have they spoken, right, to health department, that's all.
Yes, so they want to know if you spoke to health department yet.
We haven't spoken with the health department yet. We ran some numbers though based on
Could you identify
Thank you,
yourself?
Oh, I'm
We
sorry.
know who you are, but
Joe Lombardi from the Rain Group. We did run some numbers based on what their flow calculations would be. Like Teresa said, the sewage flow that's permitted on the site is over 19,570 gallons. The buildings that are proposed are basically, according to the health department, it's like a warehouse use.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a very low flow to begin with the health department. So
And they're aware that each unit in the warehouse would have its own bathroom. Because I've run into this with health department too, where, even if your use is a certain use, but then you have hand wash sinks placed throughout, they are gonna calculate that additional flow. So you've had that interpretation already?
Well, I would
we've
think,
had that discussion.
I would think they would treat it like one of these contractor parts, where, you have each contractor has their own warehouse, they have an office and a bathroom. There are no laundering facilities, there's no
Right.
laundry on site, I'm assuming,
No.
washer, dryer. So
There-
that's
there
probably
won't
how
be-
they're gonna, I'm just guessing that's how they're gonna treat it.
Right, and that's what our understanding is, based on a brief discussion.
And the beauty of the application is we have a functioning facility already, so you could feed us whatever data based on your existing functioning facility, and that makes, it gives us a lot of real-time information.
And as a reminder, this is type 1 action, so we're going to
Have to-
coordinate with the
Yeah,
health
we have to
department.
coordinate, sure.
Right, okay.
So we don't have to get into the specifics of, how many gallons and,
Yes.
it was just a question about whether they have.
Basically, the
Yeah.
buildings that are proposed right now, we cover about 1/3 of the entire flow of the site. So,
So interestingly, I was gonna ask a question, but you're kind of, so the buildings that are proposed right now, is there a second phase of this for residential housing on any part of this?
I misspoke.
Okay.
These are the buildings that are being proposed.
Wayne, did you hear that? Wayne?
So the applicants are reserving the right to develop the property in the future with whatever underlying uses in the CR40. So if that means single-family dwellings and we have some allowable flow, that could be a possibility. But at this time, we're only looking to get the park flow.
Well,
but-
Wayne,
okay.
just to clarify, I know that you've met with our boss, Janice Shearer, and she did say that there had been some brief discussions about residential construction on the site, or residential construction.
We have,
So-
we've explored those options, and at this time, though, we're looking just for the park lot, approval.
Okay, because your letter and your submission did say that that there may be future uses, so, those potential
We're
uses needed to
reserving
be,
that right for
right.
the rest of the property to be developed in the manner that's allowed under the underlying zone.
right, but we have to ask for secret purposes, so.
but don't we need more detail for secret, otherwise
Well,
it's
that's what you do.
segmentation?
Yeah, well-
Yes, that's what I'm saying. For the purposes of seeker, we have to ask, and if there is anything that they're planning on doing at this moment, that needs to be disclosed so that we can do a full seeker analysis. But according to Wayne, at this time, they're not proposing anything. But, again, that's the question that needs to be asked. It needs to be as part of our pre-submission conference tonight, and as the pre-submission conference report that will be discussed, which should be discussed.
I understand, and we expect, all these comments to be incorporated into the report.
Right.
And as Dennis said, you have information from your existing facility, and I think you mentioned that you were looking at similar architecture and design or something. Bringing pictures of what you already have built would also be helpful in the future.
And if it would be was provided in the application, and that's a good segue to our architect, who was online, Eddie, if you could jump on, and if the board has, or at least Eddie may be able to share the documents we submitted, all the concepts, the floor plans, the elevations, and the light.
Those were passed around
Yeah,
earlier.
there's one pack. You don't have
Make it
additional,
this
do you?
far.
I'm sorry?
You don't have additional.
I do, I have them downstairs. I can
Oh, you
bring
do?
them up.
Oh, we'll have it for this evening, it would be helpful.
Yes,
look at these,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to take a look at the
Oh, yeah,
pictures.
Tom, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a picture guy.
Good.
Thank you.
Eddie, if you could raise your hand, if you're ready.
Do we have anyone waiting to come in on Zoom?
Yeah, we have one person.
There's one person, if you could let him in.
Texting him now. Wake up, Eddie.
Oh, he's trying to get in. They're trying to get him in.
I think Dave declined, so.
He's raised his hand.
Yeah, hopefully he's back. He was on at 2:04. He texted me.
Oh,
If
okay.
you need me, and I just responded to him, we need you.
That's how
Okay.
he said he raised his hand.
Okay.
He's got his hand raised, but they're
There he
unable.
is.
They're trying to get him in, but I don't know. Sometimes they can get him in.
You there, Eddie?
They got him.
There you go.
How are you?
So Eddie, maybe you can share your presentation on the screen and walk the board through it.
A little louder.
We can't hear him at all.
We can't
Well,
really
he's
hear
not
you.
speaking.
You need to speak louder, please.
A little louder, please.
Somebody just need to get closer to the mic.
Hello, my name is Eduardo Vasquez Eddie. I'm architect.
I'm not hearing him at all.
I can.
Lean both volume, Eddie.
Or talking to the mic
Closer to the microphone sometimes helps too.
Can you hear me?
better.
Hello? Hello, my name is Eddie Vasquez. I'm architect. I'm working with Ryan Casper, the local architect. And we've already completed two similar hangars in West Palm Beach. And we're using the same concept with this site. We're setting back the building from the street 1,400 square feet. I mean, linear feet, so that's about 4 football fields on the outside. The area of the building itself, the footprint of the building is only about 10% of the entire, not counting what we're gonna donate, the individual courts and the middle school. That's about the area that we're taking on. The actual buildings itself, the activity is focused inwardly. So we have 4 buildings, 3, one building in the middle, and the roof around.
Teresa.
We're also breaking up the massing of the building into a vertical element that will be shared between 2 units. So 2 units have a floor and a vertical element. We're trying to break up the linear massing.
Eddie, can you share your plans with us on the screen? Because the board members don't have them in front of them.
Yeah, I can't hear a word he's saying.
We did indicate some excess parking here, which would be occurring with neighbors, but as you come in, we can show you some views.
Wayne was hard
You
enough.
guys see this?
Yes.
So this is the main entry, the football court, we donated the parking lot, donated to this road. And again, as I said, before football fields back in the road is the internally focused, panel. Here's a sat down here, to give you a little better idea. As you come in here, the one-way traffic all the way around and go back out. Each of these entries have a, two-unit loader mount. Again, this is a view. The only thing you really see, the main thing you'll see is the owner's lounge right here. That's the only thing that looks a little different to show that that's the owner's lounge. And we have these linear buildings. They have some decoration, they have some power signs to break up the linearness of it. Again, very, separated. This is some renderings of the clubhouse or the owner's lounge. Give you an idea. There's not going to be any commercial kitchen. There's not going to be any kitchen facilities at all, right? This is when we asked before about the size of the units. This is one of the left on each of these, but it's similar. You have the bathroom, you can go here, you have the garage door, and pretty much, the owners will have their apartment here. Washroom area, maybe the owner will put a little sink here, with a counter, and we have to build up. We have the stair that goes up to the mezzanine, and only 1/3 of the area is this area right here. These are the smaller units, so 600 square feet, including mezzanine. Some of the
Yeah. But the mezzanine is going to be over the far side, say that big open space. Big open space. It's just
There's the
this
center
looks
building has
industrial.
some of the units a little bit bigger. This is probably the biggest unit here, about 4,700. Only 180 on the ground floor.
Microphones here too.
This is a full plan of the owner's lounge, from the main entrance, with panel here. And then we do have in this area security guard park there.
This is a time when what kind of architecture building is fine. This is very industrial. It's like a self-storage place. Yeah. And then if it's not tonight or whatever, I think it's just
It's a warehouse.
it needs to be more emptiness.
Yeah, that'll be,
So do the board members have any questions of Eddie at this point?
No, I think, Wayne, I think we've got,
A general overview, you'll hear a little bit more tonight.
yeah, we're gonna hear.
Certainly have the opportunity to get into more specifics. Number one, you know, the design, even though it doesn't, we're in a residential zone, but we're fully surrounded by industrial uses.
Right.
That being said, we think that these buildings are compatible with our surrounding uses and would be acceptable, in particular, are not going to be visible from any surrounding residences or this public street. The other thing we want to let you know, we did meet with the fire marshal a week or so ago to talk about his concerns. His concerns, obviously, is having public water available, and it's available on the street, but there's no hydrant in the vicinity of the entrance. And he also suggested possibly another hydrant internal to the site and in the vicinity of the turnaround. He's also looking for the buildings all to be sprinklered, which they will be. And the thing that Eddie didn't jump on is, and this was the recommendation of Janice and the building inspectors, to incorporate other energy saving techniques, solar or otherwise. So they're all things we hope to incorporate. The other thing that we haven't discussed is, if the board wants to, we have Kevin Walsh from VHP, who's the environmental engineer. He's online. If you have any questions, he could also give you a quick summary, but generally, they've undertaken an environmental audit. There is some materials that were left in the sandpit area, which we're working on a remediation plan and could be remediated, and we would have that available for the final site plan application for your consideration. So if you want to have any discussion with him.
We're running into a little bit of a time, Wayne, thank you, but we're running into a little bit of time constraint, and we've got to jump into our agenda, but I think we've had a pretty thorough presentation here. I can't, sounds like
Yeah, we'll try to keep it short tonight.
Yeah. Have you had any public feedback yet? Because I know.
No, not yet, but I suspect, you've heard some comments of other development, in the nearby area. We suspect that there might be interested parties, so we're willing to hear what their concerns might be as well.
I mean, one of the peripheral environmental advantages of this type of project, I tend to think your clients are probably they're local residents, that a fair amount of them own property on the water. And this possibly could encourage them to build a smaller scale. They don't need the 8-car garage down on the creek in Cuyahoga, West Hampton. They can have the 8-car garage up here. Maybe they'll do a 2-car garage and smaller space. There might be some unintended environmental benefits from this, but we'll explore that. Yeah. That's a big issue with the scaling, the massing of these houses, especially in the waterfront areas. So it's.
So wait, can I say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead, George.
Wait, just one comment I'd like to make where I didn't see a survey showing of the property on that package or the clearing, but judging from the visuals that we were shown in the renderings, so I know the parcel very well, and as most of you people know, you guys do, but I live just down the road from that, so I drive past that property every day. It's very well vegetated, a lot of mature trees in there. But the plans seem to indicate a fair amount of clearing, and then lawns or whatever else you want to put. I would like to suggest that when you, and Teresa can take this more in the report, that when you do your survey and your clearing limits, that you kind of identify, I guess, all of the significant trees over 10 or 12 inch diameter that's within the area you plan to clear, and consider keeping some of those trees as full-size trees rather than stripping it down and putting them back in, landscape planting, which never is the same thing. It has the multiple things of preserving the view and the shade and the habitat, but especially providing shading for the areas, even around for the parking lot, around the pickleball course, for example. You can do that where you can keep some of the oak trees as clearing. Trees will have to determine whether, or make the comment, maybe if we give up on the pine trees right now, because the pines just seems to be dying at a phenomenal rate on Long Island from the beetle. So, maybe we don't, emphasize so much the pine trees, but,
We'll make sure we do that as part of the environment.
yeah. Okay,
Take a
great.
good look at that.
So Eddie's plans, generated from his concept in South Florida, but certainly the Raider Group is looking and taking a survey of the property in Oco, and we'll engage in discussion on the trees as well. We're not in the act for protection overlay district, but we do have the buffer requirements that are under the DEP, which were shown on the concept plan, but we'll take into account that clause as well.
Great.
Right. And was there a pond proposed in the back? I mean, the rendering again showed, but it's just where the land,
It's just, it's a former sand.
I know it's there right now, but one of the renderings showed like it was a pond proposed, but I wasn't sure.
There's all sorts of.
Yeah.
We can't hear you.
No plan for a pond, there's been all sorts of thoughts of how to reclaim the sand pit, if at all. There's been some suggestion in the community that we should dedicate a part of that building part to the town as well. So we're open to all ideas and considerations as we proceed.
Well, if you don't dedicate it, you might want to think about protecting it in some form, because that's the area that's very popular and prone to having dirt bikes riding,
Won't be
for
any of
long
that.
periods of time.
No dirt track. Wayne, thanks
Thank
so
you.
much for your presentation. Your team was terrific. You helped us out, get a good handle on the project, and we're looking forward to tonight is the pre-submission conference. We're looking forward to get the project going and keep the ball rolling on this, getting some public input. So thank you again.
Thank you.
For coming on.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Okay. Sure. What's the name of that application?
Tut Hill? Is that the one?
The code amendment.
Is
Oh,
that
code
the
amendment.
Not the Tut Hill?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
we'll talk about that.
Christine, I'm handling that today. You don't need to add that. I'm doing that today.
See you.
Oh, all right, no, I was trying to get.
Oh, yeah,
is-
she-
Code amendment, all right, I thought you were
Okay,
doing the other.
so what we'll do is we'll close the afternoon work session, convene the afternoon regular session. We've done the pledge, the minutes, and the preliminaries, and we're going to move to the town board code amendment. Katie's in to give us a brief, I think this was circulated by Claire.
Our intern is going to do this.
Okay, great,
The
welcome.
youth bureau.
Tell us your name for the record.
My name is Alex Murray.
Alex, welcome to have you. Sweet to have you. I will pass it out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone have a copy? Everyone have one?
One more.
Things to go down that way.
You have one? Oh, one more?
Go ahead, Alex.
Okay, so my name is Alex Moran. I'm an intern at the town attorney's office. I'm here with Katie to propose a code amendment. So the purpose of this amendment is to replace the term mentally retarded with the term intellectually disabled in the table of use regulations as it relates to schools for the intellectually disabled. So in 2019, by the town board resolution number 2019-885, the code was amended to replace the term mentally retarded with intellectually disabled. And although it was amended in 2019, this reference table was left out of the amendment.
Is that the correct term? Where do you get that terminology from?
That's what was done in 2019, so I don't know if.
No, but I
there's a
mean the
new
one
term.
you're looking, what you're proposing to use. Where is that coming from?
It was what was amended, the town
It's
code, the
it's almost
special
like a
exception.
scrivener's error.
Correct.
Yeah.
In 2019, the town code throughout said the schools for the mentally retarded. In 2019, the town attorney's office changed all of the references to intellectually disabled, but this still lingered in the table of use because it's, it's that thing that nobody pulls out anymore at the end, the attachment.
Oh, so that's the term that we have in the contract, in the town
In the
code,
town
right?
code already. It's just this one last,
I know, because I know it's, again, I think it's, I get the impression it's more common to, but that's a bigger thing to use intellectually challenged rather than disabled.
Yeah, I don't know, we're just trying to make it consistent with what was already there, and then if, I'm
Okay.
assuming if,
You can put that in the referral, because the town board just, I think they're setting the public hearing on Tuesday.
So I
So
think it's
if you
worth
wanna make
looking
that
to
in
see what the most
referral.
current 2024 language that when you refer to people who are intellectually
Sure.
challenged, whether it's
There's probably
intellectually challenged or
ADA
intellectually
guidance
disabled.
on that,
it could be.
so yeah, maybe.
That would be our only,
referencing.
our only comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Otherwise,
let me just say, I do have 2 immediate family members that fall into this category. And number one, I think it's great that Councilman Schiavone or whoever found this hanging out in the use table,
Mhm.
and that's being changed, because I supported this change several years ago in the town code. I think intellectually disabled seems to be the consensus phrase being used nowadays. It may be worth exploring if there are, other more appropriate ones.
Well,
But my
that could be our
experience is that
recommendation, that
This is
use the- use the
certainly
most
Maybe look
currently
back at
acceptable terminology.
Sure.
current
Right.
acceptable terminology.
Good.
Whether you go back to the ADA and the ADA legislation to see what they're currently using to do that, because I think that still projects a disability,
Sure.
rather than
Sure.
a challenge.
do you need a motion to enter those 2 recommendations, or do we have to adopt a report or anything?
Yeah, you should make a motion, because this will come to you, it's a amendment to chapter 330, so
Okay.
we refer to the planning commission and you guys, if I just tried to get you,
So those
outside
comments,
your-
or those 2 comments, are the
agenda.
substance of would be the substance of our report, and we'll write it up. Could we have a motion to adopt that, please?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria,
Maybe a second.
second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? 5 yes.
Good
One
job,
absent,
Alex.
one
Thank you.
vacancy.
Alex, what a really wonderful thing to be involved with
Yeah.
as an intern.
He's been great. We've had him, how long now? Like 6 weeks?
Yeah.
And he's been amazing. He's really participated in a lot
Is
of
your last
different
name
things.
Karen?
A lot of board
Is it?
members.
Moran.
Moran?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Great
he's
to
gonna
have-
come back and pitch it to the town board as well, but we'll do that quick research before then too.
Okay, the other referral you can do?
That's it, that's
Thanks,
for us.
Katie.
Okay, Dave
Thank
can
you.
do that. Thanks, Katie.
Thanks, Katie.
Thanks, Alex.
Good luck, you'll learn a lot.
We're jumping into our, who's taking, Anthony, are you starting us off, or?
Neither one of Flanders is adjourned.
Okay, number 2 is off,
That's all.
and then,
Teresa.
are you, Teresa, is she still here? Yes. Sure.
All
We're
right.
on 103. Complete this.
Thank
All right, so this next project is 103 County Road 39. We had initially deemed it incomplete because of the need for a revised traffic study. They did come in with a revised letter, and part of the reason why we were asking for a revised traffic study is because this was going to be the Liberty Gardens parcel. However, that was denied by the town board, and they don't have to include that now. But they did give us a revised letter with respect to traffic counts. We also did recommend that they revise the building to be more consistent with the County Road 39 plan, but they elected not to revise the plans, so we are deeming the application ready for secret coordination because it is a type 1 action. So we'll need to coordinate with Suffolk County Department of Health Services, and also the Village of Southampton is an interested agency because we are within 500 feet of the county boundary, the town boundary.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I
sorry.
actually, I have a question. When, where is this parcel? Because when I looked at the map,
It's right next to Burger King.
Right next to Burger King.
okay, when I'm going on my Google Maps, 103 is much further east.
Then Google Maps must have it wrong. This is the location. This right here, this parcel.
That's what I thought. And then when I went on, I mean,
may
here's
find-
Google Maps.
There's 39 and there's 39A,
Yeah.
which is, I believe 39A is the portion east of North Sea Road,
Okay.
as I remember.
Yeah.
But that
Okay.
may be part of,
Because this does say 39A. But
right.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think there's a long story behind it, like everything, but it's split. It was 39 up to North Sea Road, and it's 39A
okay,
from North Sea Road.
because I thought I knew where the application was, and so that I used my Google Maps to reorient myself.
Yeah.
And it's, what it looks like is that place where the guys try to do a tree farm.
Grealish, yeah.
Yeah,
Right, that's the A, that's, you're in the
Yes.
39A.
Yeah,
There's a
okay.
39B too, but I'll
Okay,
spare you
so-
that one.
I'm not losing my mind.
Google is
The
You know,
address
it's
is
right,
right.
it's right next to Burger King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right near the intersection of North Sea Road. Again, we're coordinating SECRA. The applicant has submitted all the documents that were required. So we're ready to coordinate.
Very good. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Tom, second by George. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? 5 yes, 1 absent, 1 vacancy.
So really, do we need to go to the back
Who's next up? Seth,
Seth, yeah.
ready to go on Uzel
Yes,
properties?
it's going to be short, unfortunately. The town engineer has gotten back to me right after I had put it on the agenda, asking for more information from the applicant that I think has a bearing on the secret review. So I will ask for an extension to that review at this time until the new information has come in.
Are we at an action deadline today?
I have not calculated the.
You can
act-
just say incomplete.
It's still incomplete.
Should we do a resolution or just?
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion for incomplete?
Motion.
Motion by George, second by Gloria, and all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 5 yes, 1 absent, 1 vacancy. Brings us back to Anthony, the Enclave.
Joe Lombardi's here for the.
Joe's here? Brian, that's you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Google's having a rough patch as of late. So can't get the right address. The Justice Department is going ahead.
Well, I find it helpful to see on the map where
I
it
do,
is,
I know.
because I don't know everything about it.
I do that all the time. I pull out my phone. So, Anthony.
Yeah, so if the board remembers, I have this property up here off of Noyak Road in Noyak. It's a 5 point, I don't know if you can see them, they're right up there, you can. It's 5.38 acres, it's in the R40 zoning district, New York State Archaeological Sensitive Area, and the Aquifer Protection Overlay District. The application, you might remember, is a 4-lot, utilizing that 50-foot wide strip that comes off of Noyak. It will be a common driveway, as opposed to the original proposal was for a road. We
With a
eliminated that,
cul-de-sac.
so we don't create front yards on these 2 properties. It makes it a little less intrusive. So you're looking at 4 lots. We did not ask for a cluster plan here because there was no adjacent open space, but we are getting perimeter buffers from adjacent residential properties, plus the clearing restrictions that will apply to the lots. There's some pre-existing clearing, so the lots that'll, that are sitting over here will also be subject to a revegetation plan. So I think we could accomplish what we wanted to without clustering in this case, since there was no adjacent open space.
Yeah. This is on for,
It's a final approval.
final approval?
Yep.
Do we have a resolution? Oh, it's completeness?
No,
Final,
you
final.
did the complete.
Oh,
that's
you did.
fine. Here are the resolutions, so you can't, sorry.
Okay. Should we look at the conditions?
Yeah, I mean, do you want me to quick,
Yeah, I mean, you have a summary.
but we did our referrals.
Yeah.
I mean, when we go to the resolution, just go to the.
Sure.
Okay, we can do that. We've looked at this for the last couple of years. If I incorporated all the changes. Incidentally, with conservation, they still recommended the cluster plan here, but we're going.
There's no trails issues.
No, there's no trail issues here. So on page 4, some of the conditions of approval, the final map changes, the requirements of the town engineer. Show the postal delivery addresses for each of the lots. Assessor's office, remove all proposed structures and building envelopes from the map. Provide the clearing calculations for each lot, updated and indicate areas to be revegetated to bring the properties into compliance. Like I said, I believe it's going to be the aerial here. It'll be the 2 lots really over here where they have the existing area. I have delivery, postal deliveries on there twice the address. Indicate evergreen screening on each side of the common driveway, which would be located in the flag strips of lots 1 and 4. So since we have the common driveway going in between, we usually try to put up some type of evergreen planting, a hedgerow or something, just to block from the adjacent residential properties. Label the 25-foot wide buffer as a naturally vegetated non-disturbance buffer. Add a notation regarding covenants and restrictions and a common driveway utility easement. They have to revise an application regarding compliance with zoning. You might recall the zoning board had to grant a little relief for this because in exchange for doing the road, we did flag strips, but the flag strips could only be 12 and a half feet wide each. So they need a little relief from that. Compliance with the requirements of the town engineer and signature of the common driveway plan prior to this board signing the final map. Number 3 says construction of the common utilities for lots 1, 3, and 4. It should be lots 1, 2, 3, and 4. Prior to the conveyance of the lots, issuance of building permits for the lots or construction of the common driveway, whichever occurs first. And then construction of the common driveway for lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 prior to the issuance of any COs. 5, submission of a revegetation plans to bring the lots into conformity with the APOD requirements. In the 25-foot buffer, if you look here around the perimeter property is pretty good. Over here on this side and this side, it's a little thin, so it'll last for some type of planting within that buffer area too.
Oh. Didn't we have neighbors coming out of Southampton Acres, which would be those properties at the back of the property, I think, complaining about, and we talked about putting some sort of buffers.
There's buffer all around, right?
The buffer does include 25 feet on the rear here.
All
Okay,
around.
but it's just a non-veg buffer.
Non-disturbance.
Yeah, it's a naturally
Yeah,
vegetated
okay.
buffer. And the way I word it in the covenants, it says it should be free of all clearing, grading, ground disturbance, and construction of structures. Try to cover it all in there. The revegetation plan, the planting plan for the buffer on lot 1, so we can fill in the gaps over there. Submission of the SWIP, that's from the town engineer's office. The letter of acknowledgement of receipt for the subdivision regulations as pertains to the common driveway and drainage, construction and inspections. Submission of the declaration of covenants and restrictions. No further subdivision of the lots, no lot line modifications without planning board approval. Lots 1, 2, and 3, lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 are subject to a 25-foot wide naturally vegetated non-disturbance buffer that is to remain free of all clearing, grading, ground disturbance, and construction of buildings and structures. Lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 shall share a single common driveway off of Noyak Road. That's going to be subject to the easement that they have to file. There's an evergreen screening or hedgerow shall be maintained within the flag strips of lots 1 and 4, as shown on the filed subdivision map, off of the adjacent residential properties to the east and west from the common driveway. No new utility poles for overhead utilities or services. All new utilities shall be installed underground. 3-inch drainage requirement for all impervious surfaces and retention of all stormwater on site. And then the speedies coverage notification that we've been including in our covenants. Submission of a common driveway utility easement. Submission of a mortgage consent, title certification, and attorney approval of all legal documents. Submission of the Mylars and paper prints, which will be signed and then have to be recorded within 60 days.
Is the representative here or?
Joe Lombardi.
Joe Lombardi. Any questions or issues, Joe?
I have a question. No, I believe this is everything that we discussed.
Okay. Question, Tom?
Anthony, could I just, for my own knowledge, awareness, when we indicate there's going to be a 20-foot wide, 25-foot wide buffer, does that preclude them during construction from clearing and then revegetating?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Natural
we
resources.
should probably, do we want to split rail fence?
Well, not on the buffer. We usually use that for the open space. Yeah,
okay.
usually use that.
But we could note in there that there shall be no.
Because the Conservation Board does still have some concerns here in their
Right.
recommendation, and if we can at least make sure that whatever could be saved within that 25-foot buffer
Maybe
Yeah.
a limiting fence, like they could put the orange.
Well, what we
fencing
could
fence
require,
in.
and we should, that is a project limiting fence
During
shall be
construction,
installed prior to any construction activities and shall remain up there until all.
till the see
construction
about
activities
is
are
issued,
done.
yeah.
We can.
That saves us a lot of re-veg coming in.
It does, so we will include that, we're gonna include that, Joe,
Yeah, that,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
makes sense.
And
Good
maybe,
point.
maybe include that in any future things we're asking.
100%, we started doing it for all our revegetation,
Yeah.
applications, so it makes sense here.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. All right, so do we have a motion for approval?
motion,
Motion by Gloria, second by Tom, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions, 5 yes, 1 absent, 1 vacancy. Thank you, Anthony. You going right to 200 West?
Yeah, the applicant couldn't be here and asked for an adjournment, so we gotta do an extension of the action deadline until August 22nd.
Very good, do we have a motion?
motion,
By Gloria,
Second?
second by Kate, all in favor? Aye, opposed, abstentions, 5 yes, 1 absent, 1
That's been-
vacancy.
that's been meandering for a,
Yeah,
Wow.
it has.
How about Trotta?
Trata is actually off the agenda.
Item 7 is off the agenda, and we've got Ashley
Yeah.
Caparo.
Yes, we got that for you.
Capraro,
Yeah, I'll mispronounce it.
Martha Reichert is here for the applicant.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Martha. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I'm gonna sit here if that's all right.
Sure, make yourself at home.
Great.
Passing out a report. Pre-submission conference report. We had a pre-submission conference.
Yep, so everybody knows the area here.
Yep.
This is the property at the corner of Willow Road and Montauk Highway, Watermill. It is highway business zone. You know, the Calissa restaurant, actually Trolloc, what it's called now,
Trolloc.
that was on here, it
Yeah.
is just over here. Actually, we have a application for this site here, so you're familiar with the area. This is an existing building, nice historic building, actually.
Very.
With apartments on the second floor, antiques or something.
That's what it was for years,
Yeah.
since the '70s. It's actually been vacant for the last couple of years. Our clients recently purchased it.
Just identify it for the vocal record.
Pardon me. Martha Reichert, Jimmy Latham, J. Kelly Juvenile Hardware, 33 West 2nd Street, Riverhead, New York, for the applicant. Ashley Caparo LLC, and also for the owner of the property, 978 Real Estate Holdings, Montauk Highway LLC as well.
So, you know, the application is
Yes.
to convert to a cannabis dispensary. It looks like, based on the floor plans, the retail areas will be on the first floor. It looks like it's offices and storage on the second floor. And then this existing building as well, which shows the workspace on the plans. We've addressed this in the report, so we'll go through it. Currently shows the driveway off of Willow. We obviously have an existing parking area that comes off of Montauk Highway. On the first page of the report, we had public comments, questions regarding the number of possible dispensaries, consumption locations, and hours of operation. Actually, this came from the CAC. There was support to keep the apartments there. We know we desperately need them, but that's not possible.
Is that state? It's state law.
Yeah, and plus we have our own regulations regarding distances from.
And are those apartments currently occupied?
There is a tenant, but they understand that they'll have to vacate once we submit our site plan. So it's unfortunate, but unfortunately that's the way the regulations are written.
Maybe that'll be changed one day.
Well, you know, I was thinking about in New York City, there are clearly apartments above some of the dispensaries there. So but the way the current code is written.
and you could have a liquor store and an apartment,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
so,
So it's it's how the code is drafted, but it's just one of those things that it's unfortunate that we have to give up. That apartment.
So we're in the process, one never knows how things will change, but traffic concerns and access, obviously is happening when we're dealing with development on Montauk Highway. Maintaining existing historical design of the building. The CAC raised the question, and I raised the question in here. We'll see what happens out of a referral at a time, is the front. It's got a nice view into the property. The trees look nice there. It's just a view. Then the landscaping's nice. The building looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And the question ultimately comes: how much buffering are you going to ask for at the time?
Right.
It'll be interesting to see when we get to that point what landmarks has to say and what the architectural review board. That will be a big help. Will there be 24-hour security? What are the safety protocols, lighting concerns, and all this was put in writing as well. So here are the comments that we have on this application. Number one, it is a special exception use and it's subject to the general standards and the special conditions and safeguards of the town code. So they'll have to submit a petition with that. Number two, this talks about the special exception regulations say if adjoining a residential parcel, the minimum required transition yard shall be 100 feet. The residential district line runs down the center line of the property. It is not adjacent or adjoining a residential parcel. It is adjoining a residential zone. The residential parcels are across the streets, and they're also preserved, as you can see up here. I actually don't think there's a zoning question about this, but because it is the first one, and we're not, it's not our job to interpret. I'm just suggesting that the applicant go to the chief building inspector to make sure we're complying with these requirements. And that's, like I said, it does say adjoining a residential parcel, and this property doesn't join a residential parcel, so I just want to be clear about that. Number three, although the need for rental apartments throughout the town is well documented, the existing apartments would need to go, at least at this point. Number four, the applicant has indicated there would be no changes to the existing building, and I quote here what they talk about: the design has to be in conformance with the community. This building, is historic. They're maintaining it. That's good. It's going to be referred to the landmarks board. It's going to be referred to architectural. I don't know if you're changing any windows or anything, but any changes would.
Right. Well, just to address item number 4, we did indicate in our pre-submission that we would be making it ADA compliant, right? So at some point there's going to be a ramp added.
Okay, so that's going to send it right to the ARB anyway.
Right.
And landmarks as well. So. All right, good. So at least we acknowledge that. Parking, and again, we'll see what comes out of the referral on the landscaping, see if we get some, because I don't know how I feel about it yet. Maybe some couple of extra street trees, or maybe nothing. It's just we'll see how it goes in the process. Parking calculations weren't provided. I don't think there's any questions that they can meet the requirement. It's 1 for 180. Not all the areas going to be dedicated to the retail sales. They note on there, you just say future parking area. I didn't know if that was meant to say proposed. Or if that was supposed to be land bank. So,
yeah, no. We'll provide whatever the required amount of parking that we need to have pursuant to the parking schedules.
Okay, because we do note here if we were proposing some type of land bank parking, you have to provide 2/3.
Yeah, no. Well, we've retained engineers to start looking at exactly what our parking.
Okay.
Are.
The. Just have them take it down. So you can see on the plan here, they have, the existing parking lot and then the new parking lot off of Willow. The two parking lots aren't connected.
Could you zoom in on the area a little bit, Anthony? Yeah, that's.
So you're gonna have a parking area back here. My thought was at least looking at it, potentially connecting the two parking lots. So, we could circulate around
It's a
the
tight
property.
squeeze between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately our sanitary system is right in the middle there, so that's one of the things that we have the engineer looking at. We may have to ultimately lose that accessory building in order to create a connected parking lot.
Okay.
And did we discuss closing off the Montauk Highway?
We're gonna get to, I have access,
Okay.
Montauk and Willow grayed out, so I can get the plan for it.
Okay.
Which is not, by the way, that accessory building is not historic. Because,
Okay, good. That
yeah.
was gonna be my question.
It was built, I think, in the 70s.
Okay. So connecting the two is, number 7, access Montauk Highway and Willow Road. So I sort of wanted to, get the planning board's opinion about this. Obviously, we can do these pre-submission conferences without the benefit of comments from fire and the engineer, but at least on a preliminary basis, these access points on Montauk Highway will always no issue. But this is also not a controlled intersection over here at the corner of Willow,
Are we looking at any that's Strong Oil right next to them.
Yeah, that's correct.
Are we looking at any connection to Strong Oil?
I didn't mention it here, but we probably should, consider future cross-access.
Yeah, we might have it on Strong Oil. I don't know.
There's that space, there's 4 spots there, which almost looks like it.
So what we'll do then is we'll note in this report, looking into the possibility of cross-access, and then looking to see whether the plan that we've already put in place on any adjacent sites we might have on this one. I just don't recall.
The parcel to the north, I guess when it last
Yeah.
received site plan had something about cross-access, but if you visit the actual existing site conditions, the way that's used by, I think it's party rental, right? I don't see exactly how the cross-access would function between those 2 parcels, only because there's a lot of grade changes.
Yeah, and we will look at that,
Sure.
and at the time, it's a lot of times we just put a generic potential future cross, because you never know when site conditions will change or if they're going to be redeveloped, so.
Well, certainly, if we keep the Montauk Highway, we'd only want right turns
Yeah.
out of the Montauk Highway.
Maybe that's what we'll say is, right turns only.
Out of the Montauk Highway.
Onto Montauk Highway, at least on frequent
Yeah.
basis.
Is there a controlled intersection coming the other way down? Like Willow links to, I can't see.
No.
Yep.
Deerfield. Oh, to Deerfield.
Deerfield.
I see.
Goes to Deerfield.
Yeah, but Deerfield isn't controlled,
Right.
and that's a pretty hard left turn.
Unless you take back along the railroad tracks and get to the station, and then you can get to the driveway.
Keep this right turns only.
Martha, we're going to add that where I had number 7 access.
I don't know how to do that.
Behind the ball field, there's a road has a dirt, maintenance road.
The plan number 8, the plans that they gave us show a corner radius dedication in this corner of the property, I believe. I just was asking, was this a requirement of a prior site plan? Where did this come from?
It was a minor subdivision
Oh, okay.
back in,
So,
yeah.
so we'll get that information and we'll follow through with this then as part of this application. Because it was probably subdivision in the 80s.
Earlier than that.
So here we are, we'll have this in 40-something years later.
Yep.
All right, so that's good, I appreciate that. There was a pending application, actually, we just got it in today. So let's look at it, and let's take a look and see where access points are going.
Yes.
Was that the pre-submission or the actual site?
We did a pre-submission, we got the formal came in today.
All right.
or
That's
yesterday.
the hospital.
Or it's
The
the
hospital,
medical
the
building.
medical
Yeah,
building, yeah.
So we want to make sure we try to coordinate access.
And we've told our traffic study engineers that we want the same thing.
Good. The floor plans indicate a lot of storage areas and office space on the second floor. Just, clarify, how the space is going to be used. Because the plans still show, bathrooms and kitchen and all that. We just, we have to make sure, is there any expansion proposals here? Is there going to be increased retail area? That kind of stuff. Because there is a lot of space there.
And are there restrictions on what can be there when it's a cannabis dispensary? We sort of learned that with the one in Tuckahoe.
Yeah.
So we need to know what's gonna be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's one of those things where, we have the building that we have, and because it's historic, we have to figure out how to work with the existing building, which, in the long run might end up being more than what's actually needed for the cannabis use, but because of the restrictions. So I understand why a lot of it's shown as office and storage. We only need so much for the retail, but again, shoehorning in another use might just prove logistically difficult because it is,
So there may be no use.
right. So
Yeah.
essentially, I mean, it's an old residence. So there's only so many ways you can partition it versus like a commercial building.
But is it allowable, it's a question, is it allowable to have offices that are not associated with your primary use?
I believe, yeah, because this
Okay.
says, so it's all about residents. I mean, the question that'll pop up is number of uses.
Right.
It will be subject
Okay.
to the provisions that limit number of uses.
Which
But
is
if
your
it's
moderate,
commercial use
right.
and they can meet the zoning requirements, they may be able to have offices on that second floor.
But there
Right,
are
okay.
limitations on what can coexist.
Yes, yes.
So
For
we need, as we said with the early application, we need to know what's gonna be there.
Right. Well, at this point, it's only going to be the cannabis use because
You can't
again,
share a use
Yeah.
right now.
it's internally it's a house, right? It's an old house,
Yeah.
so it's very hard to meet all of our security requirements and then potentially have a third-party business in there as an office.
Right.
So, it's just,
If it gets labeled as no use, is that?
It's all gonna be a cannabis
It's
use.
gonna be labeled as something, though.
Yeah, it'll be
Say
labeled
no
as
use,
something.
It's gonna say something about it.
Storage.
Storage, whatever it's going to be,
well, in that way, because the parking calculations have to be factored on a use attributed to.
Well, that's why I'm asking
square
for
square
going
footage.
reasonable about parking. I don't wanna put 72 parking spaces somewhere where we don't need it either, so.
Right.
Number 11 talks about the accessory building. It's labeled as a workspace, so clarify, that's also going to be storage, but just to clarify to that point, I'm pretty sure the regulation says that you can't have on-site preparation of manufacturing.
Yeah,
So I just want to
absolutely.
make sure it says workspace, because I wasn't sure.
That's how it's been CO'd
Gotcha.
for decades, is workshop.
Number 12 talks about the traffic impact analysis, and the applicant is aware that require it. These are new uses. As I said in previous reports, the anticipation is that there will be an initial interest, and the traffic will initially probably be worse than it will ultimately wind up. But we want to see the numbers and the analysis. And it's my understanding that ITE now has numbers they're using for cannabis use. So if
Correct.
there's an office and medical office in this, they do have numbers now for
So it's different from the earliest dispensaries that were reviewed in different parts of New York a year ago. Now IT has updated, so there are formulas for this.
Number 13, adequate buffers and screening. So along Willow Road, you have a pretty good hedge there actually now, so you don't see anything. And then we raised the question about what we do along Montauk Highway. We'll see how it goes during the process. How much landscape.
Definitely don't want to screen that building.
I mean, the community said it, and the CAC raised the question saying, we don't necessarily want to see screening of the building.
If anything, a street tree, but I think, we'll
Yeah.
we'll take a look and see.
There's a very, very mature street tree
There is,
at the driveway entrance off Montauk
Yeah.
Highway. So it really comes down to what exactly you want to see. I mean, I do know that somewhere in between there is where all our gas and water lines
Right.
flow through, so clearly we can't put a tree right on top of it. And then you do have you have corner clearance for properties, but you also have that corner that's dedicated to the town, so just have to see what everyone wants.
Number 14 talks about the setback requirements, 500 feet from school grounds, from community facilities, and places of worship. So what we've been asking is when they come with the formal, just give some type of radius map or some type of map that demonstrates that they're outside of that. It makes it easier for staff, it makes it easier for the board.
Which we submitted in like our little handout that we
Okay,
had.
okay. It's
But
probably in
we'll
the file
just,
somewhere.
we'll put it back on, again, just anything that we do, we'll always have that radius map.
Absolutely. Formal application, the detailed safety management plan, this comes out right out of our regulations and state requirements. And that can be anything from lighting to hours of operation. Signage, so we'll want the signage details. You can't have any colloquial references. That's that. This would be an unlisted action under secret. It's more than 4,000 square feet, the building and everything. So once you're over the 4,000, you go from a type 2 to an unlisted action. So might as well just move along the end. Since you got to do the traffic study, they're going to do the pedestrian, which was mentioned here as well. They have sidewalks now, but who knows what the DOT might require as part of this application. Change of uses have triggered work on the highway, so to speak, right?
Anthony, with respect to sidewalks, is it only on Montauk Highway, or would you also want sidewalks on Willow?
Well, it'll be interesting to see what because we do ask for a pedestrian circulation analysis plan or something. So I don't know. That's a good question.
I do know Willow there's a steep grade.
Is it a steep
right,
grade?
Yeah, right where it goes up to Montauk Highway.
Yeah.
It's
Good exercise.
it might not be practical for a sidewalk.
So those are the comments that I have.
Just
Martha,
one
you've been-
typo on the front page, June 27th, 2024, for the record.
Martha, do you have any response to the report, or you could certainly submit a written, just to clarify.
I think that everything that's here is stuff that seemed very reasonable and came out of our pre-submission conference, so nothing was a shock or a surprise. It's just getting it all together and putting together, good comprehensive application for you.
Okay, so then our action then is to adopt the pre-submission report. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria. Second by George. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? 5 yes, 1 absent, 1 vacancy. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
And Teresa, are you ready to go with Rivian?
Can
Or?
I just, I have my walk-on.
Oh, your walk-on.
Rosemary.
Go for it.
Let me just explain to the board what happened.
What's the name of the?
This came in a while ago when I was really woodland.
Hi, Rosemary.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I didn't handle this initially, but some time ago, this board, this property was overcleared, and this board authorized an off-site preservation with a transfer of clearing rights.
Oh, good.
To let it go from 35% clearing to 46.73%. And this was all done some time ago. I didn't work on it.
Okay.
Rosemary's client, a lovely little old lady, explain what happened.
Okay, it wasn't that
Could
long
we
ago.
identify what the property is? We haven't said
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry about this. This is 38 Woodland Drive in Southampton. It was an overclearing situation.
38 Oakwood Drive.
Woodland Farm is 38 Woodland Farm
Oh,
Okay.
am I the
Road
wrong one?
in
I'm sorry.
Southampton.
It says Woodland Drive on
Off,
it.
off of Edge of Woods Road. Or is it off of, no, this is the one off of Middle Line.
Middle line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had the wrong.
Yeah, it's around the corner for me.
Rosemary,
Okay,
just identify yourself for the record.
Rosemary Barone, 199 Mariner Drive, Southampton. So what happened was, actually it was, I originally came here in at the end of 2022, 2023. And the property was overcleared. It was allowed 35% and it was overcleared 46.73%. And the board allowed us to transfer development rights. We got the rights from Joe and Blair Gaza, and we did that. And we were fine, we were good. I do wanna say my client purchased the property. It was overcleared when she purchased it. She didn't overclear it. She didn't do any of these things herself. She inherited all these issues. So we tried to clear up the issues one by one. And we had the surveyor do the survey. We came here, you agreed, we transferred the rights. Couple months after that, they hired a new surveyor. The architect wanted a different surveyor. They hired a different surveyor, Gary Benz, and he came in and he said, no, you were cleared 49.6%, not 49%, not 46%. I looked and I said, what's the problem? And he said it's the skip laurel hedge, where he found the difference between his survey and the prior surveyors. So we're asking to transfer additional rights
Just
to
to
clear
cover
up,
that.
to cover that. We didn't clear anymore. I had the surveys, the old survey, which was kind of difficult to see, but it's this hedge right here that you can see on the new surveys. I gave everything to Anthony. And that's all. It's 3%. We're still under 50% clearing.
This is a 5-acre parcel or a little less?
Oh, yeah.
I think it's 5 acres.
Yeah.
5 acres?
It's, no, it isn't.
No, it's
I
about
think,
3
what is it?
acres.
No, 3.
3 and change.
It's 94,000 square feet,
Oh, it's
2.1.
2 acres.
Oh. Over 2 acres. Have you identified the area where you're gonna?
We have. We received more property,
From
more rights from the Gazas,
Gazas, okay.
same school district,
Yeah.
similar to what we did before, and they're holding them for us.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get on the board, no disrespect, since November. I've been trying to get here. I'd love to finalize this and get those rights done and clean up one more problem.
So what's our action
You know,
after this?
here's what I say, because I would just, it's the authorization of the transfer of clearing rights to rectify, how much was it?
It's an additional 3%.
Yeah, so 2,515 square feet of clearing rights.
Okay, because we'll mention that in our resolution then. We can act on this today?
You can, actually.
Okay.
It's not complicated. Here's what I would say. surveyor made a mistake and staff made a
Yeah.
mistake in the process.
Yeah.
I mean, we can see these things too, and we obviously, 2,500 square feet is easy to miss when you're inspecting properties of this size with that much vegetation. So I don't have any heartburn over an additional 2,500 square feet.
Do we have a motion to that effect? Motion by Tom,
Second.
second by Gloria, and all in favor? Aye, opposed, abstentions? 5 yes, 1 absent, 1 vacancy. What are we calling this walk-on?
I'm sorry.
Or what's the name of it?
38 Woodland Farm Road.
38 Woodland Farm Road, overclearing.
I will fix that.
That's a walk-on. Great.
Thank you,
Thanks,
I appreciate
Rosemary.
it. Thank you.
No problem. Sorry for the delay.
Teresa, are you going?
I'm
are
just
you
gonna
ready?
finish on my last.
Oh, that's right, you've got 2 more. Go,
Just
Randy.
Number 13, Hampton Cove Estates. We're rescheduling the pre-submission conference for September 12th.
Very good. Do we have a motion? Motion by George, second by Kate, all in favor. Aye, opposed, abstentions. 5 yes, 1 absent, 1 vacancy. And what else you got?
I think that's it. I just have that.
23, 325.
Oh, yeah, 325 Rose Hill. Oh, that's signature.
Signature,
That's a
yeah.
signature.
Okay, you signed that? Have you
I've signed everything.
signed? Okay. Well, there you
And I
go.
came in last week to do by the way,
Okay, just talk to
on
them.
a special visit.
Duly noted.
He does have to
Well,
do the town board referral.
Dave's gonna do the town board. Dave,
No,
Wil-
Dave
I'm-
is sick.
you're Dave
I'm
Wilcox
Dave
now.
Wilcox today.
You don't look like him.
I know.
Uh,
So-
This is town board referral.
This is the town board referral. This is the James Tufhill family home,
15. Yep.
South Country Road. It's up for a landmarking. I'm pretty sure Dave sent reports and everything.
Yeah.
I saw nothing.
Oh, really?
I thought I saw it.
Oh, because
No.
I got a phone call from him like the other day saying, handle this for me. He sent things. So I tried to just at least make a copy of what the house looks like for the board to see. It's quite beautiful. I think the original salt box, as they say in here, was built around 1798. My understanding is just up for landmarking now. It was referred to the planning board, and I believe the resolution just said that the planning board supports the landmarking of this structure. I'll be happy to, it's a 65-page report. I'll be happy to forward it to the board. It's got some interesting stuff.
There are reports, I don't read them all, but they're usually quite interesting.
These are fantastic because they really go into the family history and everything.
Yeah,
And
which
you
is
can
kinda
even look at these
cool.
old maps, you could see South Country Road as it's identified today was there on a map in 1798. So
Yeah.
it's fascinating.
It's nice that the picture has the Christmas decorations.
It's a good picture.
Yes.
So if the board has no questions, it was to recommend to
Supportive of the
landmark.
Great.
Is that your motion, Gloria?
Motion.
Yep.
Motion by Gloria,
Second.
second by
Kate,
Kate.
second.
All in
Thanks,
favor?
everybody.
Aye,
I
opposed,
appreciate it.
abstentions?
Thank you.
5 yes, 1 absent, 1 vacancy. Hopefully not too much longer. So Anthony, you're done. Teresa, you want us to jump in for Rivian? I
Yes,
guess?
actually, can I take 11 and 9 together because
Okay.
they're both the same?
11 and, oh, that's right.
Yeah, I was wondering why they were
Yeah.
there twice.
Okay, so Rivian has come in and they've submitted all the required documents for deeming the application complete and scheduling a public hearing.
Okay.
They have also separately requested that they be allowed to proceed with just the installation of the charging posts for the electric charging. So I have 2 resolutions on for your consideration. The first being deeming the application complete and scheduling it for public hearing on September 12th. And the second, allowing them to proceed with just the installation of the charging posts, conditioned on acknowledging that there are no vested rights in the change of use for the furniture store to the Rivian dealership.
Because the furniture store is still there.
The furniture
Yeah.
store is still there.
We love the chargers. So we'll take them separately. The first one is to deem complete and set the public hearing. What was the date, Teresa?
September 12th.
12th. Very good. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by George. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? 5 yes, 1 absent, 1 vacancy. The second one is to allow for the installation of the charging posts with the conditions as described by Teresa.
Thank you.
Very good. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? 5 yes, 1 absent, 1 vacancy. What happened to yours?
So
Someone
she's
taking,
Please read your force farm.
she'll take it off the audio. Do we need
What? Are you in 12, Teresa?
Oh, am I on 12? No, you're gonna do 10.
we do 10?
which is,
We did,
We
Oh.
did 10 and 12.
you did
we did
9.
9 and 12.
9
Oh,
and
I have the
Oh,
old.
nine and
Seth's
11.
jumping in
My
for
apologies, yeah.
number 10.
We'll be right back up, Teresa. This is a minor subdivision, 80 Anchor Street in Flanders. We have a 2-lot subdivision that has been proposed. I will need to deem this incomplete as the information that was presented to the planning division is, the survey does not have the current septic system on it, so I have asked the applicant to resubmit the survey. Until that point, we'll have to rule it incomplete.
Okay, very good. Do we have a motion to incomplete?
I'll motion.
Motion by Kate,
Second.
second by Gloria, and all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? 5 yes, 1 absent, 1 vacancy.
What do we have to?
Regina.
We're doing, is Teresa, are you doing Reggio?
Yes, I am.
Okay. That's number 12.
287 Waterfall.
Take a look back.
What address do I have on there?
846 7 Hans Taub Road.
That sounds about right.
I think it's
All right,
847.
so this is the site plan application for the demolition of this existing riding ring and construction of a new riding ring, stable, and equipment barn, I think, over here. We had initially agreed to amend the existing covenanted agricultural reserve area to allow reconfiguration so that they can install the new riding ring and stables. The application is complete and we are recommending public hearing for September 26th.
Very good.
It is a type 2 action because it is agricultural farm buildings.
I have a note that it was incomplete. Did something change?
It was incomplete, subject to various amendments to the site plan, which they've submitted,
Okay.
and for the submission of the amended agricultural easement, which has been submitted to Christine Scalera.
Okay, so that's what happened between last Friday and today.
No, it wasn't incomplete last Friday.
It was incomplete prior.
Prior to,
Okay,
yes.
well, that's,
Last time it was on the agenda.
It was a couple of, like a month or 2 ago, but it was incomplete back then, yes.
This was, they were going over the existing agricultural easement. And
Yeah.
we were, can you just rewind the tape on how that was resolved?
So, prior to my time here, the planning board the applicant had requested an amendment to the agricultural easement boundary so that they could build this new riding arena. At the time, the board agreed that that was okay because they were gonna make up the area elsewhere. And then directed them to submit the site plan application. So the application came in for site plan a few months ago. We deemed it incomplete, subject to revisions to the site plan application itself, as well as submission of the the amended easement boundary, which is being reviewed at the moment by the attorney's office.
I didn't, when did you send it?
You don't have it?
No.
Okay, well, they submitted it to me. I'll make sure I'll email it over to you. I thought I did, but I'll double check that.
So we're still active on this because we're just scheduling our public hearing.
That's correct.
It's still complete.
What are
So-
you asking them to do today?
We're deeming complete, right?
We're gonna deem it complete and then schedule it for a public hearing. So, and then obviously subject to the filing of the easement, the amended easement.
So
The
is it
easement that we're
complete?
talking about though was done by the planning board, it's
It's
not a
not an
town board
easement.
easement?
It's not an easement, it's a covenant that says
Oh,
where the,
And it was a
the-
planning board covenant?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
planning
so
board
it's an
covenant
amended
for
planning
where
board.
the
Okay.
farm structures was supposed to be.
Okay.
And you approved that,
remember.
last year sometime
Yeah.
under the name of Meadowview.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember.
So it's just a matter of like lining the two applications up, making sure that legal document is appropriate and filed.
And if it's not, then
Apologies,
go
I
ahead
didn't-
with the hearing, so it's okay.
Yeah, easement versus.
Thank you.
Just make sure I get it. to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna make
If it's
myself-
not good, then we'll
Oh, you
put
know?
off the hearing, but we can schedule it now.
Could be
Okay.
still on.
Great. Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Do we have a motion for completeness and schedule the public hearing?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria.
Second.
Second by Kate. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 5 yes. 1 absent. 1 vacancy.
And it's 9:26.
Read.
That would be professional.
Does he still have the house on Ocean Road? Big house with the Richard Serra sculpture.
I think so. I mean, I saw them in the office.
Oh, sorry, Jason. You're going to Bonnie Wellexy?
Yeah, Bonnie Wellexy, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's,
Say it.
I think, I'm guessing, Bonnie Wellexy or Wellexy, I'm not sure.
Sounds a bit British to me.
It says 257 County Road 39A. This is the site here, outlined in red, just east of North Main Street, and 39A was the old Mecox Garden site.
Oh, yeah.
We're looking at it, the board is considering a reapproval. The site plan is expired, it was conditionally approved in April of '08. And the application was for a change of use from retail nursery, lawn garden, lawn and garden supply to retail, outdoor furniture, home furnishing, a couple of sheds, and a storage building. Like I said, the site approval is expired, and there was never a building permit or CO issued for the change of use. The current tenant is the one requesting the reapproval, but a site inspection showing some inconsistencies with the approved site plan, so I think it should remain incomplete until we can get a new survey for further consideration.
So the original approval in '08 was for,
It was for change of use and
from retail nursery to,
retail nursery to
Outdoor furniture and home furnishings.
retail nursery to retail outdoor furniture and home furnishing. But that was never fully executed. They've met all the conditions on that approval, or most of them, with the exception of maybe some
but they never got a building permit.
But that was never fully executed, so that's why they're.
Did the use change from retail nursery to outdoor furniture?
I think Mecox was operating as
Mecox
retail
Gardens,
furniture, what it's currently being operated as today. So they did change the use, and they've been operating that way for a long time, it just was never done with the building department. And that's why the current tenants are asking for reapproval, because they just want to sort of utilize everything and get their change in tenancy.
Now we know where patio.com will go when the Rivian says that goes.
And your site plan, when you looked at the site, it didn't match what the survey
No,
said?
there are a couple of inconsistencies. There's this new sort of storage shed or workshop here with the dumpster back behind it. One of the sheds is gone that was originally proposed on that application. Really, that's it. Some lighting issues that are still a condition, it will be a condition if we decide to reapprove it.
So today we're just deeming it
What date
incomplete.
Yeah, I think we need to have an updated survey for sure.
Okay,
But
so,
when I look at this resolution, there's absolutely no identification as to where this is. There's no address, there's no, I've looked twice.
I have it in the resolve.
none on ours.
Nope.
No, it's not, there's no address.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at a different item. Well, I can certainly add it to the first one.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you.
this is in fact a 2008 survey, which we shouldn't have accepted anyway.
I'll add the address and the tax map number.
Yeah,
What's that? Oh, I'm
I mean,
sorry.
just as a point of thing, I mean, is there a, I can't remember what the application said, but is there a, what's the age of surveys? I mean, should we even allow for, obviously we're not accepting this, but this survey is from 2008, which is, so it's obviously an old survey. Probably shouldn't even have accepted that in the first place.
The survey updated. Well, we're deeming it incomplete, so.
Yeah.
To the revised survey.
Yeah.
And then we can consider whether we want to reapprove it or not.
Policy on it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, I can't remember if we had.
Guideline.
I know- I know some places, some,
Usually a year. If there's being an application for activity,
Yeah.
it could be like a year.
So right now, we're just deeming it incomplete.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria.
Second.
Second by George, all in favor, aye,
Aye.
opposed, abstentions. 5 yes, 1 absent, 1 vacancy. Cleaner.
I have a request for reapproval. Ocean Road Real Estate. Veronica Fazio is here if you have any questions for him. Let me just pull it up. This is the situation where, you approved this, sub lot line modification and, they went ahead and filed the deeds for this, for the transfer. So you can still see the old on this. It's both of these lots. They were reorientating this to be back to what it was before, between the two parcels. And it's time went by, the deeds were filed, but the maps were never signed. So this would be just a reapproval of the transfer. Again, very straightforward and simple. But in order to facilitate the filing of those maps miscellaneously, we'll have to reapprove it today, and then they'll have maps submitted in the future for signature.
Okay, sounds good. Do we have a motion? Motion by George, second by Tom, all in favor, aye, opposed, abstentions. 5 yes, 1 absent, 1 vacancy. How about,
Okay.
we got Homeland Towers?
Yes, so this one, 2055 Flanders Road. This is where they're proposing a cell tower, associated on the property with the junkyard.
The junkyard,
You remember
right.
that? You wrote a very thorough report. There were several issues on this, not least of all, it's very visible, adjacent to residential uses. What would the junkyard do, because it's right in the middle of the junk. So there's a lot of issues, but you issued that back in May of 2023. This would just carry that report with the issues outlined into 2025.
So we just
Extend it
Extend
until
it.
May 2025.
Okay.
Motion.
Motion by Gloria,
Second.
second by Kate, all in favor, aye, opposed, abstentions. 5 yes, 1 absent, 1 vacancy. And Claire, did you have anything else?
I don't, just some signature acknowledgements at the end.
Yeah, we
And
can
I'm
do all
sure
those
that
at
we've done,
once at
so.
the end.
Yep.
And Brina, were you going to do Summit Boulevard?
Yes.
Okay, that's item 19.
Jim was here earlier for the applicant, he had to leave, but he did state he had no comment,
Okay.
and we're not under a deadline to adopt it today, so.
You said we're at deadline?
We're
We're
not,
not.
we're reviewing a draft for the application report.
All right.
It's easier in the statement.
Yeah. This is not landlocked. Yeah.
This is a pre-application report where, the application is for a lot line modification and a 2-lot subdivision. The 2-lot subdivision is this parcel back here, 13A Summit Boulevard. They don't have, formal road frontage, but they have an easement through 15 Summit Boulevard to get them out to the road. So it's a 2-part application. I don't know if the board remembers, but this is the site that's got the split zoning in the back. It's divided in that north-south. So I have a draft pre-app report in the packet. I started with the comments to the ZBA based on some of the more recent reports we've been doing. If it's all the same, maybe we could go into the report because it's going to summarize some items we've yet to discuss, and we could circle back to it at the end.
Okay.
That's all right?
Yeah, just,
Site description, 64,910 square foot, subject parcel split by R20, R40 zoning. It's in the archaeological sensitive area. It's 100% clear that has been historically cleared. There is an existing shed on the property, and it's landlocked with heated access to Summit Boulevard. The portion of the rear site within the R20 zoning is about a little over 26,000 square feet, and there's a little over 38,000 square feet in the R40 portion. The requested action again is for the lot line modification to facilitate the two lot subdivision. And the surveys in there as well. I could pull them up on the screen if you like. The applicant submitted two standard plan options, A and C. There's no option B, so there's just two options. Both proposed two lots. Option A shows a lot within the one lot within the R20 zone and one lot within the R40 zone, so they can meet the lot area requirements. And then lots, option C shows them sort of bisecting that zoning line, which is this dashed line here, splitting the zone. And both options will require road frontage. Or both options propose the road frontage access through the plat, number 15 Summit Boulevard. There's no opportunity for open space. The subdivision meets the criteria for a minor, that's 2 lots. Conformance with master plan zoning. The subdivision will require relief from the ZBA for the planning board to consider it further. Again, option A, although it meets the lot area requirements, the R20 lot will require a lot width relief. It's a little bit narrower, it's 108 feet where 120 is required. And then in option C, they'll need relief for the minimum lot area as well as lot width on both parcels. The subdivision is not subject to the Long Island Workforce Housing Act for the park requirement. The application presents as 2 created lots, therefore 2 additional single-family residences. So park fee is thus would satisfy that. It's a type 2 secra action. It is in the archaeological sensitive area. So phase 1A, 1B, and 4 will be required. I'm going to remove at the very end, I wrote for any further development or improvement, but I'm just going to remove that. Public comments, there was a hearing held on June 27th, 2024. It was closed with a 10-day written comment period, and there were public comments received at the hearing and written comments received. Public comments were in opposition, questioning where the building envelopes would be and what the setbacks would be, concerned about visual impact and privacy, concerned with emergency vehicle access, especially with this bottleneck in here at the west end of the flag lot. And then there was preference of having one neighbor and not 2. They had the comments from the neighbors to the south and the neighbors to the west, and both neighbors would prefer 1 instead of 2, and it's either or. Other comments were 2 flag lots in the area. Didn't think the parcel should be developed, and if so, not subdivided. People felt that they should be held to the 1.5 times lot area of the R40 zoning. Written comments include questioning the appropriateness of any development, the character of the neighborhood, and the added density. Again, the flag lot, 1.5 times the lot area requirement for R40 zoning. The concern of potential substantial lot area variance that would be required. And then there was comments about increased summer rentals, traffic, and construction vehicles. There were referrals made to various agencies. There was no comments received from CAC West or the Trails Advisory. The Conservation Board called out that the fact is within the groundwater management zone 6, where 40,000 square feet is required, or 300 gallons per day as a minimum use. And they also noted the medium priority water quality improvement and the watershed emergency fees. And they summarized by saying that they are not in support, although it's discretionary to the county, they're not in support of using credits to offset these things, especially with the density in the area. The county didn't have any comment apart from saying that there was no application received for the project. Town engineer had some comments or recommendations. That the map should list the area of the parent lot, common driveway serving both new lots, a covenant requiring 3-inch drainage, and monuments at the property corners and along the right of way. The fire district commented, recommended a 15 by 15 box to comply with town code for emergency vehicle access. And the fire marshal had the standard comments with street addresses and driveways and water hydrant service. Going into the recommendations, the first item is regarding the planning board's preferred plan, whether it's A or C, or if there's any
Does the applicant have a
comments.
preferred?
Yeah. The council previously stated they have no preference. On the previous discussion, the board hinted at the potential of option C being better, but we didn't really get into further conversation.
So-
Option C does have sort of
Split zoning. So if you chose option C, which zoning setbacks would apply, because you have 20 and 40 across
I'm
both
pretty sure
lots?
they'll have to be held to the higher standard, to the R40. So even though that option, which is on the screen, requires more relief, it is sort of the 2 more standard size lots, the orientation.
Yeah. Plus the access is easier when you get to the end of the driveway.
And, maybe we talk a little bit further about the layout just of the access point, if you have a preference there. Maybe there's an easement, I have it in later.
If we went with C, Prina, I'm almost thinking to pull that lot line.
Well, you can't, you gotta go
Where-
10 feet either side.
Oh, no, you can't, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the access point isn't that much different, it's still 10 feet either way.
Well, it'll be a combined access.
Yeah, then you have one's fully compliant at R20, one's fully compliant at R40, there's no real,
Right.
you need none. The R20 is 20,134, the 40 is 44,776 square feet.
Yeah, they mean, in that sense, the R21 will require relief for the lot width a
Oh,
little
the
bit.
lot width, okay.
There's still the question of, the access point. Maybe there's I have it later on in the recommendations, a comment regarding,
From the fire
an
district.
easement or something where maybe they can keep like a 15 by 15 box as the fire district recommends, where they just can't do anything there.
Yeah.
So there's an open area for emergency access.
Emergency
and
turnaround vehicles
Yeah.
and stuff. So let's say it's to design that,
Okay.
You should be.
Do we want to put in that this is the option C is the preferred option with the?
I think so.
uh,
Yeah.
What was the feedback from the neighbors related to the preference for option A?
Well, one neighbor, the neighbor to the south preferred this option because they would only have one neighbor. And then the neighbors to the west preferred A because they would only have one neighbor.
Oh, I understand.
Their preference is no.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Their preference is no development or
Right.
subdivision. It should just be one if it were to get approved, but either, prefer the other because of that reason.
So, C?
I think C.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I think C,
C, okay.
yeah.
Well,
And we'll have them design give us
The end of the drive,
the end of the drive,
common
the access,
driveway.
Yeah,
routine access design.
Yeah, I mean, a
On
15
the
minute.
final map.
Yeah, it
Some of
shows
the final
exactly, because they might, you're gonna need easements probably, so you can get a nice
Yeah.
wide,
And
radius,
like
whatever.
open square, et cetera. That's only that one up. Item 2, the application proposes 2 lots. I'm just gonna summarize that a little bit further, remove a portion of it, and just say 2 lots that will require release is determined by the ZBA or for the planning board to further consider the application. 3, there was comment about the flag lot and the development being held to 1.5 times the lot area of the R40. I put that in there as a discussion. The area doesn't exist, so I don't know how the board feels, if they're waiving that or including it in the board.
Of what?
The 1.5 times, because flag lots are, in the subdivision section of the code, the planning board
Yeah,
can
that's,
instill 1.5
you don't have to,
times
yeah,
the
it's
flag
not like you waves, that's subdivision design, it's not a
Yeah,
zoning
yeah, in
requirement.
this case, it was brought
So-
up because.
Are those considered flag lot, Dennis?
I don't.
Because you have the right of way coming in.
Yeah, I don't even know.
And then they really have
It's a
10 foot
flag,
front, they
yeah.
really have 10 foot frontage on each, on the right of way.
That's gonna be a flag lot then,
It is?
yeah, because it's less, anything less than 40 feet would be a flag lot, yeah.
Yeah, we're more interested
But
in
it's a design,
proper design.
oh yeah, so it's not covered.
They can take that out. The final map should list the lot area, the existing parcel, and the proposed lots within the upper flag, and include one final map with the lot line modification and the subdivision. Number 5, I have a discussion point in here for including landscape buffers along the west and south property lines for the neighbors, regardless of the
Non-disturbance.
regardless of the layout.
Yeah.
And
So is that totally clear? I mean,
It is,
totally
yeah.
clear, so
has
it's not really natural buffers, you have to
No, it'd be a
plant, you have to
landscape,
plant
planted
buffers.
landscape buffer, and you have to agree at what width.
We just had 25 on the other one.
I'm sorry?
I said we just had 25 feet on the other
Yeah.
similar.
Because you're gonna have set,
But then you're gonna have a setback.
rear yard setbacks.
I'm sorry?
You'll have rear yard setbacks on the one side anyway, so
Yeah,
can't really,
and then if they move forward and see, then they'll have.
let
have
them
to do
sit
as
there
well.
again, let them submit a landscape plan. The final application.
So do we want to include a note saying, a landscape buffer with a covenant required, or?
Yeah, they'll submit a plan for the western,
Southern
landscape
and
plan.
western.
Buffer plan. South and the east can be protected through non-disturbance.
Yeah, south and west.
South and
West, so down here. to the south.
existing, that's west.
West is that, right?
That's where they're gonna submit a landscape, plan.
Oh, right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then that's other, okay. And 25 feet, or?
25, yeah, that sounds good, right?
Mm-hmm. Number 6, an easement granting shared common access for those created lots. 7, lot line modification subdivision. Will designate a legally owned portion of the access for 10 feet for each of the created lots.
Yeah.
The applicant shall address the driveway drainage of the properties above grid as applied on the property now, so if I put that in there, we'll make a referral to the Southampton Town Highway Department. There is an existing shed on the subject parcel, and they remove it unless they show that the parcel is owned by the same, this parcel and an adjacent parcel is owned by the same owner.
Really? Question, is that proposed right of way, is that a separate tax parcel? Or is that?
No, it isn't. Right now, it's an easement
Over which property?
over 15, which is, oops. over this property here.
Well, that house is, it's an easement over that guy's property. So don't they have to be part of, doesn't he have to be part of this application?
It is, yeah,
He's part of the application.
they are, yeah, it's a lot line modification for both of the lots and facilitating the subdivision. The same owner does own both
Okay.
lots.
It's the same owner.
So it's the, yeah, they're facilitating the transfer first to the rear lot so that it will have 20 foot of
They'll
frontage.
have
And then
free
they'll do
title.
the subdivision, obviously, going to the ZBA first.
Right, so it's a
The
transfer.
transfer first.
Yeah,
Yeah, so she's written a draft for a transfer to allow that to
Let's
happen.
combine that.
That's conforming, so
Yeah.
that they could do that. That lot will be smaller, but conforming still.
yeah.
So,
Good,
that
good.
could be facilitated. So.
And they'll have actually dedicated dog legs.
And they'll have a dedicated access to that rear lot, and then we'll facilitate a subdivision with obviously some variances first.
Good deal.
So, it's confusing.
No, no.
Every time we talk about it, I'm like, my brain hurts.
No, it's good, it's good.
But it is,
Okay.
it is something that at the end of the day, it's looks like a little work.
Yeah. And I drafted the resolution for it, but we'll look at it once we adopt the report and get the next meeting. Phase 1A, 1B, required at the final application, we're at 10. 11, the IA systems required now by the county for new home construction. I noted the groundwater management zone 6 with the 40,000 square foot minimum for the county. They will have to have a health department requirement before they come for final. Maybe I can add the credits that they purchased to offset that should come from within the same school district.
I think it's the same groundwater. They don't require it. School district only comes into play with development transfer. This isn't development, these are sewage transfers. So it's not necessarily the same school district.
13, compliance with the fire district regarding 15 by 15 box for the emergency access, and compliance with the fire marshal regarding driveway addresses. I do note that there's a nearby hydrant on Summit Boulevard, and the final map will show that. A covenant requiring 3-inch drainage for future impervious surfaces. Compliance with the comments and recommendation from the town engineer. Final application must include county approval, and the applicant will proceed with the final application, fee maps, health department approval, and materials required by the code, and a public hearing is required to be held.
Who's Carl?
I don't know, we could go back to the comments to the ZBA, if you have anything to add to that.
It's going to serve as our ZBA report anyway.
Yeah, I might simplify it a little bit more, so it's just a little easier for the ZBA to read, but I'll note the preference for option C,
Yeah.
the lot line modification, and maybe, even though the option C requires more relief, maybe they'll be held to the onboard standards and specific principles at that.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt the pre-application report?
Oh,
Sorry.
You want her to just clean it up, and then we'll have the transfer for the next meeting, is it?
Okay, yeah.
This is just discussion today.
Yeah, yeah, oh, okay, I thought we were on action.
No action
deadline.
deadline.
We're not on the deadline.
Oh, okay.
Maybe next time, and then Jim can come back.
And then you can give back his documents to him and his comments, and then you could do the transfer at the same time. You could do that resolution. with the
Oh,
transfer.
just transfer at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Trina. Teresa?
I'm gonna ask that we take it out of order and have Kim Lester discuss first.
Kim Lester, item 21.
Yes, because Susanna's been waiting very patiently.
I know.
So here are copies of
Patience, George has been patiently waiting for the basket to
that.
Actually, I haven't been. Because I had
It's like
some.
reading your mind, George.
I haven't been, but
I'm reading your mind.
I never say no.
Dig in, no?
We had, this is an application for 17 Allenson. We had tentatively, we had reviewed an application to allow for outdoor boat storage because it is adjacent to a marina. We had deemed it incomplete for the location of the septic system and the fire hydrants. I apparently missed the septic system. But the applicant is concerned with having to get the survey redone to provide the fire hydrant location. And that's why they're here. They want to ask if you would be willing to waive that requirement. She did measure it out. I don't know if that's a wise decision for fire protection purposes, but obviously that's your decision.
The elimination of the hydrants?
It's been drawn in on the
Yeah,
survey.
she hand drew it based on her field.
I
Hi,
don't
Susanna
I
Herman,
don't want to go
consultants
there.
for Kim Lester, the owner of the property. Yeah, my office measured it. It's located 290 feet to the north of the property. I think it's just the last straw in the expense of having to put everything on the survey and keep paying to try to get this project approved. I mean, the whole purpose is to try to have some additional income for the family. People in the community keep approaching them about a place to store their boats, so they're just trying to keep the property, which the family has owned for 100 years, and have some income on the property. So, and that's when they saw the request to add the fire hydrant location. We don't want to pay the surveyor or anything else. Why is this necessary?
Are you allowed to do that?
Well, I was going to say, I don't think you're allowed to mark up a survey and
Well, I mean,
have
for
it
the
as a
purposes
record.
of doing for a sketch, it's not an
Yeah.
official
This is just my
submission.
sketch.
I understand.
Yeah, I'm
So I
not
think
altering
if
the
we adapt,
survey.
if we allow that, you have to make a written record just saying it's 290. You can't really then have
Right,
this
we
in
would
the
have
file.
to, we would have to issue a new resolution anyway, deeming the application complete, if this is the way you want to proceed. But I wasn't gonna say, yes, you can do that, or no, you can't, without bringing it in front of you.
What was the fire marshal's requirement?
Well,
Was
it's not
that it
been
be,
complete, so it hasn't been referred to him yet.
I was just gonna say, where are we in the process?
So that's the only thing that's holding us up from deeming it complete so it can go forward with review?
Yes.
Would they have to, when they,
We would refer it to the fire marshal afterwards, which, again, the fire marshal may require them to do so anyway. So that just,
Yeah.
your client is on notice that even if you elect to, if the board elects to waive it, the fire marshal may require it anyway. And perhaps, perhaps you should also discuss this with the fire marshal.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't personally accept the survey amended, not
No,
by the
No, it's just,
professional
it was for
so-
purposes of sketch to
This
give
is
you an
just an
idea.
idea.
It wasn't,
Yeah.
we
Not
understand
an
that there's a
official
New York
submission.
State education requirement that says if you're making an official submission,
Oh,
that you
yeah, I
have
would
to
never
pay.
do that.
Right.
Right.
No. But, I mean, I could put it in a letter or something like that, but
Right.
I would
we
never
can
officially.
also just verify it. I mean, something like that to hold up just you being deemed complete so you can go forward, I think it's.
I just can't explain to the client, the homeowner, why is this necessary to show this? Why do I have to pay the surveyor again to go out and do this?
I think we're saying that it's still gonna have to happen.
Well, again, that's at the fire marshal's discretion, right? But whether we deem it complete or not.
So the juncture where we are right now is your interpretation based on having reviewed site plans, like of making recommendation to this board that it doesn't include these two things on here, so we need to deem it incomplete.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, if you would like, rather than make a decision this evening, I could reach out to the fire marshal tomorrow and get his take. Because if they're gonna require it,
Then
might
we
as well
have
do,
no
you have no
choice.
choice,
I just
you know.
wanted to try
I mean,
to
I would
save
just call your surveyor and say, hey, can you
He would probably take my measurement and put it on there
amend
and
the
say,
survey and
as
complete it
per-
and be complete? You know what I mean? It's a small thing for him to do. I think maybe.
This is the homeowner saying, why is this necessary? I've already paid so much to the surveyor and I've done everything that's asked, and this is the last thing that came up.
This is a pretty important
Right,
piece
but
of
the
information.
conversation is with the surveyor probably to say, hey, your survey work that you did was not complete. we need it completed, and we're not paying any.
Meanwhile, the homeowner has to pay you for your time to come here.
Right, yeah.
I don't get it.
So.
And it's possible they have that information, from other surveys as well, right?
So, going forward, do you want me to maybe just postpone this discussion until the next meeting, and then
Sure.
reach out to the fire marshal and see if they're going to require it? Because again, if they're going to require it, this discussion here is moot, right?
Yeah.
Sure, I would appreciate that.
Okay.
They're gonna require it
And
on
have
the
you
survey.
spoken to Stephen
Yes.
about the Brylski, about whether he has that information? What does it actually cost for them to put that on the survey?
No,
Yeah, it's separate.
Might be good.
At any point subsequent, assuming this all goes forward, is the thing, what I used to call an as-built survey going to be needed where it could be added, or do we not do that?
Well, I mean, in this particular instance, you're not going to have any structures.
Really building
An
You're not
area that
building
they can use as
anything.
dry storage, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if an as-built would necessarily be required, at least
There
on
was
the
like a
building.
fence, right? That
Yeah,
was required.
well, a fence, right, but.
But that would end up being just inspected by.
Right, and it's a 4-foot fence, it doesn't require a building permit.
Right, okay.
I think talking to the fire marshal's practical way to hopefully move forward.
Okay, so I'll reach out to the fire marshal tomorrow, I'll CC you on the email, and then I'll put
That
this on
makes
for
sense.
discussion for the next meeting, and then hopefully we'll go. Thank you.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
Anna. Do you want to jump back into St. George Camp,
Yes.
item 20?
Okay. So, here are some draft reports, the action deadline, well, let me back up. The, comment period is still open, for another 2 or 3 days, so we haven't received all of the responses yet, from the referrals, and, but I just wanted to bring this report to your attention so you can ruminate on some of the recommendations, particularly from the Conservation Board. Jim Bloom was here earlier. He does have some comments with respect to some of the recommendations from the Conservation Board, and one other one, I couldn't quite understand what he was saying when he was telling me what his other concern was. But he's going to be outlining those concerns in an email, which I will forward to you. But in the meantime, we could just review the report and figure out, just see, so that you have the recommendations in your mind as you move forward. So again, in this particular instance, they are looking to transfer approximately 11,000 square feet from this parcel here, which is currently vacant, to this larger parcel here. This new lot would be at the 20,000 square foot, which is the minimum allowed by the zoning code, and this large lot would be about 11,000 square feet larger, going to about 110,000 square feet. The proposed lot 2 contains the existing dwelling and accessory structures, as well as town-regulated wetlands, and then proposed lot 1 is technically outside the town wetland permitting jurisdiction. So we have comments with respect to the fire marshal asking for, construction for fire protection standards, street addresses and driveways in compliance with town code requirements. The fire district, West Hampton Fire District, has no objections to the project. The town engineer had some additional requested information, specifically FEMA flood zones, utility locations, if they're going to be served over, proposed lot 2 will be served over proposed lot 1. Based on brief discussions I've had with Mr. Hume, it does appear that there will not be a need for utility easements. Also, the driveway will not be taking access over proposed lot 1, so a need for a driveway easement as outlined by the engineer is not going to be required. And then he also recommends a covenant requiring a 3-inch drainage accommodation. The Conservation Board has some recommendations with respect to showing the revised wetland buffer. they currently have an application before the Conservation Board for redevelopment of this larger lot, and that is conditioned, they have conditional approval, and it is conditioned on establishing a larger covenanted wetlands buffer on this parcel. So they are recommending that the survey be revised to show that larger buffer. And they are also recommending that any trees on proposed lot 1 with a 12-inch or greater diameter at breast height be depicted on the survey and preserved where possible. And I think that's one of the issues that Mr. Julian has some concerns about. Again, I will forward his comments to you when I receive them. Again, he had to leave early, so he wasn't able to address it this evening, but that's something to consider. And again, once I receive that email, I will forward it along to you. We still haven't received anything from the highway superintendent, the trails board, landmarks board, or the CAC. The health department said that they are going to be required to file with health department for final jurisdiction over final lot area, density, and use. So currently our recommendations are driveway construction in compliance with section 333 of the town code, installation of public service water mains and fire hydrants, and the nearest hydrant is greater than 800 feet from the residence. Proposed lot 2, subdivision map revised to provide the FEMA flood zones, location of all proposed utilities such as public water and electric, in order to verify that no easements are required to cross lot 1. Recommendations from the town engineer to revise the map to note the monuments on the corners and direction changes, covenant for 3-inch rainfall, and the expanded covenanted buffer. One thing I did note when I was reviewing the application, there is a fence currently existing in the existing wetlands buffer that needs to be removed. It should be noted on the survey that it will be removed. And then the recommendation with respect to the conservation board's request to preserve trees greater than 12 inches at diameter at breast height where possible, and having those depicted on the survey. And again, that I think is one of the 2 issues that Mr. Schulen had concerns about, which will need to be discussed further at the next meeting. But once we receive the comments. So just a quick run through of the application and the report, the draft report, and then it'll be brought again before you
Next
to
meeting.
discuss further next meeting. But with respect to what we currently have, did you have any comments on the current draft?
Is that already subdivided?
It is already 2
Yeah.
parcels, correct.
Okay.
This one
Okay.
is 16, and this one is 20.
Okay.
And it's owned in joint owner, well, they're owned together, and they're just wanting to lop this bit off and add it to this parcel.
And then they could develop the other.
That's correct.
And where does the house that's there, where do the utilities come in?
And the access, is that they have a,
Right now, they have an access drive right here,
okay.
and my understanding is based on the redevelopment plan, the drive will come here. And in fact, I can actually pull that application for you. Hold on one moment.
I know we had this on a few months ago.
Yeah, not remembering it. Maybe I wasn't
We had
here.
a subdivision, there's no survey here. We had a subdivision application for this parcel here at one point. This was St. George's something or other, I don't remember what it was. This is St. George's Camp, and then this, Sherwood St. George, or St. George Sherwood subdivision,
Yeah.
and there's just 2 lots, I believe.
Can you zoom out a little bit more from that? I'm just,
Zoom
no,
out?
I just
Mhm.
trying to find my bearings on it.
So this is this is Camp Jerome.
Okay, that's.
This is
okay.
Montauk Highway. This is the
This
church,
is-
the 2 churches.
You can see
Right.
the bridge.
And this is Main Street where that bridge is
Brook
coming,
Lane.
That's
Main
correct,
Road.
right
Okay.
up here.
Okay.
Or down here, I'm sorry.
That's, what creek is that? Creek or
This
river?
is Aspetuck, I believe.
Yeah,
Is the Brook Lane,
Aspetuck Creek.
Brook Lane Bridge up there?
Aspetuck, yeah.
The Brook Road is a little bit higher up. This one is along
Brook
Main
Road.
Street.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
the Main
this is
Street.
Main Street.
Brook
on
is a little bit
West Hampton,
higher up.
Brook
and
is
then
the
this
next one.
is
Yeah, right
this
there.
is
Brook.
Brook.
yeah, and then this is Montauk Highway.
Yeah, okay,
Beautiful area.
it is. is.
So we're not going to, there's no action on
There's
this.
no action this evening, it's just, consideration of the recommendations that we have drafted so far. Again, particularly with the last recommendation on the draft report, there are some concerns about that, which we'll hear further from the applicant via email. And then we're still waiting on some comments from other agencies. Comment period is something like 2 to 3 days. All right. Did you have any concerns with respect to the recommendations currently, aside from the last recommendation?
I think we're good.
There's no clear restrictions in this area
No,
currently, right?
unfortunately.
I know, so I can see their concern about the 12-inch, trying to preserve it, although they do say as
Where practical.
where practical, right?
Yeah.
Because, but I think it's a good, it'll be good if we could find a way to start getting people thinking about leaving the trees during construction and not tearing everything down, where practical.
Yeah.
You know?
The one nexus is carbon sequestration.
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking at Marty's tree protection law, and I really think that as a group, we could dust that off and make a recommendation formally to the town board to reintroduce that as a tool for us, as we're seeing a lot of this, where we'd like to be able to do something, but we don't have the tool.
So there was
And I know
something
that, I know
at some
planning
point.
staff has
Yes.
been looking at trying to come up with something, so maybe
Mhm.
that's a starting point.
So, the town board did have a work session a few weeks ago where they were looking at code amendments in general, and there was a mention of potentially reviving that, but I don't know. That wasn't a directive that yet came from them. It may be something that they may be further considering. But if you as individuals and you as a board wish to see something like that, that's something that perhaps you should mention to the board.
Yeah, I mean, we were having these sessions with, or we were going to start having these sessions with Janice where we could move things like that, to flag.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, obviously things are busy, but,
And
I put that on
And
the
that was a
record.
big
And
one.
if
That
there
was
is
one of the main ones
support,
we
Yeah.
were talking about.
what is our mechanism to move forward with something like that if we're all in agreement?
Well,
Well, I mean, so one thing that we've started to do recently is keep a spreadsheet of recommended code amendments. So, and then if you guys have any, just shoot me an email, I'll put it on the list, and then I review it with Janice, and Janice will say, yeah, that's great, or that's a little odd, let's look into that a little bit more.
well, I
And
would,
then we can bring that as as a whole, say, okay, well, these are the problems that the planning board is encountering on a regular basis. How should we address this? Can we amend the code? Should we do something else? Those are things that we can do. There are some minor code changes that the board was like, yeah, just give us the red lines. We'll just enact those. Those make total sense. And other ones are like, well, let's discuss this further. But if you have recommendations, shoot them my way, and then I'll review it with Janice, and then Janice will run it up the chain.
I would suggest that we add to the agenda for our next meeting a session to discuss the spreadsheet that you already have and what else because as a board, I think it would be
Fully
more,
support that idea.
it would be much more beneficial if we speak as a person, as one voice rather
Okay.
than individual.
Okay.
And I know we wanted to do that kind of thing on a regular basis, and we've sort of lost that sight. So if that could be,
I unfortunately will not be here on August 22nd. However, if you circulate it ahead of time, I'm happy to provide feedback, but, just registering that consistently, as you know, we're seeing small lots outside of APOD or other restriction areas that we don't have any tools to protect vegetation.
Right. Okay. I will. And would you like me to invite Janice? She may not be able to come to the next meeting, but if we put it out far enough, she may be able to schedule it. So you want me to schedule something with Janice to talk about
And you should speak to Janice first, because I've seen that list, she presented it at a work session before the town board, is their list of ongoing projects, but there may be things on there that she doesn't necessarily want at this point to be getting input at this level.
Right.
So we'll go through that list with her, it's not that, anybody can access that list, it's public information, they presented it, but she may want certain things to be discussed at this level right now that are ready to go, and other things that are more esoteric that don't really require.
And we may have input, so I whether we do it next meeting or the meeting after, it's just, we've been talking about, we need to do this again, so.
Yeah, I'll discuss it with Janice. I have a staff meeting with her tomorrow, so I can just let her know that you guys want to discuss potential code changes, and that I made you aware that we have a running list of potential code changes, and that, that you would like to discuss.
And I will follow up with Jackie so that at the next agenda meeting that she attends, she can.
Right, so we're all here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Thanks.
Great.
Thank you.
Before we adjourn, we'll
Did we do
acknowledge
22?
the secretary has
That was off the agenda.
indicated very emphatically that
That
the
she
following
signed
have
all the
been
plans.
signed by the we, item 24, to High LLC, item 25, 325
Rose Hill Road
and
Rothman Dynasty
Rothman Dynasty, all been signed.
have all been signed.
Very good. So motion to adjourn?
Motion.
6 p.m. Motion by Glorian, second by George, 6 p.m.
And Kristen was an incredible help in getting all the paperwork organized. So I thank her.
She even rescued my thermos that I left here 2 weeks ago.
I was wondering where that came